Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is story about what if Naruto trained by Itachi for Chunin exams part 1. Before I start, please do support for more amazing content and comments for part 2. Do consider to subscribe my channel and share my video to your friends and check out the description as well. Let's start the video. Tuesday, September 1st. Everything that could go wrong had done so on this mission for Team 7. Firstly, Naruto and Sasuke were trapped in an icy dome by Haku, which resulted in Sasuke nearly dying and Naruto unleashing the Nine Tails chakra. After they were freed, Zabuza and Kakashi fought each other into a standstill, until Haku died to save his master. Caught off guard by Haku's sudden sacrifice, Zabuza was able to sucker punch Kakashi and knock the copy ninja out. Then Gato showed up with an army of mercenaries, and betrayed Zabuza. While the demon of the mist did manage to kill the midget, it was at the cost of his own life. With all of this past, Naruto was left the only one willing to fight after Sakura's attention fell onto Sasuke's unconscious form. Not at all an ideal situation. Mostly because there was still the small issue of an army of mercenaries about to slaughter them all. "Damn ninja, you killed our meal ticket!" one of the men in the back of the army yelled. "Now how are we going to get paid?" "We can still raid that dump behind them, it's not like they can stop us," another one answered his comrade. The scowl on Naruto's face turned into a full glare when he heard that. There was no way he was going to just roll over and let these backstabbers slaughter hundreds of people. So he did what any headstrong child would do, he prepared to fight each and every one of them. He didn't care if it went against every shinobi rule they taught at the academy, it wasn't like he paid attention to them anyway. "Look, that little moron wants to fight us," one of the men jeered again, causing them all to laugh. Naruto didn't know why, he had been on the receiving end of people's mockery for years now, but he flew into a hateful rage. It wasn't directed at the mercenaries like it should have been, but it was aimed more so at the situation he found himself in. Naruto was angry that no one was going to be able to help him, he was angry that he was probably going to die here, and most of all he was angry at the world for putting him in this spot. It wasn't fair to him, that he had to spit in death's face again for the third time. The most recent was now, against this small army about to grind his face into the cement, while the first one that came to his mind was a few months ago against Mizuki. However, the first true time he was ever in any legitimate danger was on his 6th birthday, the only time a mob of villagers ever tried to kill him. Now he knew they hated the Nine Tails inside him, but that didn't make him feel any better about it. He could remember their punches and kicks, he remembered curling up in a ball begging for them to stop. They didn't. It only seemed to egg them on, which made Naruto get mad. He remembered their punches continue, but they didn't hurt him anymore. His vision was tinted red, and he let out a feral scream. Then Naruto felt a hand chop his neck and knock him to the ground, and a sound akin to chirping birds. After the incident, he could have sworn he saw a pug following him around for a week, but he never was able to get close to the dog. Right now, though, Naruto felt much of the same rage as he did against the villagers then. He felt his world getting tinted red, he felt his teeth grow longer and sharper. His claws hardened and grew lethal points, and even his whisker-like birthmarks blackened into thick lines. He didn't know it, but Naruto's eyes also changed. They were no longer a deep sapphire blue, but were now a blood-chilling red with his pupils a black slit like a predator. Naruto gave an unconscious snarl before he went onto all fours, a strange red cloak made entirely of chakra beginning to cover him. He was beginning to lose his senses in his anger, his reason going to the back of his mind as he was barely even able to think. Before anyone could speak, the genin of the leaf charged like a wild animal. He tore into the closest soldier's leg, digging his claws clean through and ripping off the appendage. The soldier let out a scream, but Naruto smashed his face with the soldier's own leg and proceeded to keep slamming it down until the man stopped screaming. Naruto dropped the man's bloodied leg, his fingers stained red with the mercenary's blood. It was silent enough to hear a pin drop on the bridge, until one man murmured the words that described how they all felt. "Holy shit." Naruto's eyes snapped over to the man, and he gave a feral growl. He lunged for him and tore his claws straight through his chest, knocking them both to the ground. Getting on the man's chest, Naruto started tearing into the soldier, who let out a choke scream. Chunks of flesh and organ were strewed everywhere, blood splattering all over Naruto's person. While he absolutely brutalized the corpse, another soldier tried to brain Naruto in the back of his head with an axe. Naruto saw it out of the corner of his eye and got off the dead man's chest, letting the axe fall right into a corpse's throat and decapitate it. And that was the beginning of the slaughter. Naruto ripping and biting his adversaries while carving through the band of mercenaries like a force of nature. His hands grew bloodier with every passing cut, bodies and limbs piling around him. By the time the 30th man fell, men began to back away in fear, terrorized and praying for someone to save them. And oh, please, a man tried to beg, but Naruto sank his teeth into the man's neck and jerked backwards violently. The mercenary fell down to the ground, Naruto falling with him. The blood-crazed Jinchuriki rolled off him and again lunged up, his claws tearing into yet another foe, giving one fatal slash through his face and neck before turning to his next victim. He found it in the form of a man wielding a pike, who was utterly frozen in horror while staring at Naruto. Naruto gave a savage and deranged grin as he slashed the frozen man's eyes out before stabbing him through both his lungs. With an alien strength that Naruto himself knew he didn't have, Naruto lifted the much larger person up into the air. With a roar, he threw the bleeding corpse over the edge of the bridge and into the river 100 feet below. In doing this, he left himself exposed. A man behind him took advantage of this and stabbed forward with his spear, ramming it into Naruto's back. The point hit nothing lethal, landing right above the boy's right hip. The mercenary was surprised when he actually landed a blow on Naruto, before his shock turned to confidence, and he followed up by smashing his shield down on Naruto's shoulder, knocking the boy to the ground. The army's confidence returned when they saw this, and all thought that the man wielding the spear was about to kill the brat. Unfortunately for them, Naruto's brought his fingers together again, and he sliced off the man's foot. Rolling back up to his feet, Naruto's foot found the back of the falling man's neck and stomped on it, crushing his windpipe. He whipped his head up and saw the army still charging at him, on all sides, and in the back of his mind knew that it was only a matter of time before one of them landed a lucky blow again. After killing 10 more soldiers, the boy was smashed in the side of the head by a club, a sickening thud resounding through the air. The attack would have killed most people, but after skidding across the wood and cement bridge until he was about a foot away from the edge, Naruto rolled on his back and stood up on his feet. Naruto eyed them like a predator would eye prey, growling like a rabid dog seeing a meal for the first time in days. "Kill the brat before he kills any more of us," one of them shouted. Naruto gave a savage grin, speaking for the first time to them. "I'd like to see you try." The army ignored the threatening tone and swarmed forward, running towards Naruto with their various weapons. Naruto answered their charge with one of his own, roaring angrily as he ran on all fours, a sound that seemed to awaken his sensei. Kakashi groaned and opened his Sharingan after a few minutes of hearing non-stop fighting. He looked up weakly in time to see Naruto killing 3 men at once. Oh no, the copy ninja thought, his Sharingan giving him a quick head count of the bodies, finding the total at 43. "Naruto," he croaked weakly, desperately trying to stand and stop this. In the time he took to manage to do that, Naruto had taken out 5 more men, bringing the body count up to 48. Sasuke was now beginning to awaken as well, groaning and weakly lifting his head in time to watch Naruto smash his claws into a man's brain. He blinked and focused a little to activate his Sharingan, still unused to how it worked. He also was able to count the corpses in an instant, the total being 49. Naruto ripped his hand out of a man's skull and began to lunge at another before his luck finally ran dry. A sword, barely even in range of him, blindsided him and slashed across his face, right below his right eye. "Naruto!" Kakashi's strained voice cried out, though it would have been barely audible to the boy's ears even under normal circumstances. The man who wounded Naruto smirked arrogantly while he grabbed Naruto by the back of his collar and held him up in the air, holding him up like a trophy at Kakashi. He pulled Naruto closer to him and pressed his sword against the throat of the unconscious Jinchuriki so that he couldn't try anything. Naruto's face was a bloody mess, along with the rest of his body. His orange and blue jumpsuit was shredded, red stains all over the slash marks and stained red everywhere else. "Step aside, or the brat dies," the man said, snickering as Kakashi was left with a horrible ultimatum. Sasuke was still on the ground trying to stand up, glaring at the man as if trying to incinerate him with his eyes. He hated feeling weak and useless, and that was what the last Uchiha was feeling at this time. Kakashi was finally on his feet and standing steady. He could have killed them all on his own if he didn't have to worry about the town behind him, but with Naruto being held hostage, he was stuck between a rock and a hard place. He stilled for a moment, before his head fell in shame. The copy ninja began to turn to the side to let them pass, much to Tazuna's horror, when it happened in a blink of an eye. Naruto's eyes snapped open, still a terrible blood red. He looked at the sword at his neck and snarled, moving so fast the man behind him couldn't react. He sank his teeth into the man's hand, ripping off his thumb and making him drop his sword as well as Naruto. Said boy's feet barely had time to touch the ground before Naruto lunged at the man again, impaling his claws through his chest and trying to tackle him to the ground. However, instead of hitting the hard cement, they were met with something far worse. Nothing. Kakashi watched in horror as Naruto fell off the bridge, every second passing like a year. Something that happened so fast slowed down to a crawl before his Sharingan, and it only made him feel worse about himself. Naruto! The boy faintly heard his sensei shout, his masked face appearing like a smudge at the edge of the bridge where Naruto once was. The Jinchuriki felt himself crash into the cold currents of the river, and his world went black. Itachi was lounging at the edge of a river, his arms behind his head while he looked up at the sky in boredom. Kisame had taken to sleeping in as of late, leaving Itachi to stare at the river impassively as a lookout. He used that term loosely, because the few times he saw other people, they either didn't even know who he was and they were just passing by, or they fled in terror at the sight of him. Itachi heard a distant splash come from the river, able to see a bridge connecting two cliffs. He had been also able to hear distant sounds of fighting, but given the seclusion he and Kisame had at this spot he chose to ignore it. Odds were it would have taken hours for them to even find this spot, they were off-road and in the middle of the wilderness at the moment. Back on topic, the Uchiha glanced at the river thinking that a fish jumped, when he spotted an anomaly. Floating downstream was a distinct orange jumpsuit that had several tears and blood stains on it. The Raven of the Uchiha quickly realized that the boy had just fallen off the bridge. More dried blood was crusting on the right side of his face, which had luckily stayed above the water so he could breathe if he was still be alive. Itachi watched in fascination as he floated down the stream and washed up on the river bank right in front of him, as if he was guided to Itachi by fate itself. Itachi stood up and glanced back at Kisame, finding the shark man was still asleep and unaware of this turn of events. Looking back down at the boy, he immediately recognized the headband tied around his head as a forehead protector for Konoha. He must be a genin on his first mission. Itachi's thoughts trailed off as he got a good look at the boy, and his eyes widened in realization. He knew who this boy was, though it had been years now since he last saw him. Naruto, Kami, take it. Itachi swore, remembering that Naruto was one of the 9 Jinchuriki. The boy was obviously hurt, he had blood coating half his entire face and several other wounds in addition, but if memory served Itachi heard that Sasuke was his teammate. My brother must be up there as well. Itachi looked back up at the bridge, hearing more sounds of combat and screams for mercy. Now is not the time for him to find me, he won't be strong enough. Itachi quickly ran through his options. First, he could awaken Kisame and take Naruto to pain. That was a bad idea, one he immediately discarded. Second, he could kill Naruto and toss his corpse back into the river, and no one would be the wiser. This was another one that was immediately discarded, though for more personal reasons. Lastly, Itachi could abandon Kisame and take Naruto somewhere he could recover and prepare for the Akatsuki. Itachi didn't even have to think twice on this one. An hour or so later, Kisame awoke with a yawn, sitting up and stretching. He cracked his neck and stood up, blinking when he saw that Itachi's stuff was gone. What the? He thought, looking around. After a moment, he saw a crow standing on a tree stump nearby, a Sharingan staring right at the shark Ning. Kisame stared dumbly at the bird for a moment, too tired to piece everything together quickly. The bird started flapping its wings and flew away, and by then Kisame already knew what was going on. Itachi, you son of a bitch. Saturday, September 5th. Early morning. The first thing Naruto realized was that he was still alive, which he was thankful for. The second was that he could only open one eye, which he was not thankful for. Naruto was in a dimly lit room, rain patting the ceiling above him softly. He couldn't see the corners of the room, nor could he find the door to get out. However, that was not the issue that was on his mind. Oh God, did I lose my eye? He thought in horror, feeling himself wrapped in bandages. They were heavily focused around his lower stomach and his right shoulder, along with ones wrapped around his head. He brought a hand up and felt the bandage covered his eye. There's no way the next Hokage only has one eye. He reached up to yank the bandages off his face, when a voice spoke up and stopped him. I would not do that, Naruto-kun. Naruto's was apparently jumpy, and almost broke his neck whirring his head around to see who spoke. Who are you? Naruto was trying to sound threatening. In truth, he was pretty sure that he couldn't even lift a kunai, let alone fight someone right now. The person that spoke snorted in amusement. Just the person that saved your life, he said blithely, standing in a dark corner of the room out of Naruto's sight. Maybe it would be best if I introduced myself. He stepped into the light slowly, letting Naruto see who he was. First off, the man was young, though still older than Naruto. He looked 18 or 19 years old, and he had shoulder-length black hair. He wore a plain black cloak that fell below his knees and covered his arms. He also wore a Konoha forehead protector, but the leaf insignia was slashed out. There was something familiar about him though, Naruto could feel it. He looked a lot like Sasuke did, but that was impossible. The only person Sasuke would even remotely resemble would be. Oh. Naruto gulped, having a hunch about who it was but wanting proof. You're Uchiha. It was not a question. I am. One of the more famed Uchiha of recent memory since I slaughtered my entire clan save for my little brother, who I've heard is your teammate under Hatake Kakashi. The way he spoke so casual almost made Naruto relax. Almost. What I have is not a dream, because I will make it a reality. I'm going to restore my clan, and kill a certain someone. Sasuke's voice repeated the statement he made when they all first met Kakashi in Naruto's head, and his suspicion was confirmed. You're Itachi. Naruto tried to act calm, but it was a little more than difficult. Uchiha Itachi was standing in front of him. A person strong enough for people to actually consider a future successor of Sarutobi Hiruzen's second term. Also one of the few people in Konoha that never was a jerk to Naruto, but he left long before Naruto could really remember much about him. However, he did have one distinct memory of the Uchiha prodigy taking him to get ice cream on more than one occasion. He had been asked by Hiruzen to watch over him. Looking back on it, whenever Itachi was with Naruto, he always felt safer. Another reason Naruto was wary was the more obvious one. Itachi could snap Naruto in half with both hands tied behind his back and a blindfold over his eyes if he so chose. The sheer fact that Naruto was still alive and in front of him was a mystery to him. Yes, Naruto-kun, I am Uchiha Itachi. Itachi's face gave nothing away, though his stony eyes seemed to show bemusement. I am curious, has Sasuke awakened his Sharingan yet? Yeah, he got them on the bridge. Naruto sobered up considerably, the events on the bridge flashing in his mind. He almost died to activate them though. And now he's probably dead, along with my team. Naruto, Itachi began. Team 7 is alive and well. They left Wave around a day ago, with the builder Tazuna naming the bridge after you to honor your sacrifice. Naruto smiled in relief when he heard his team was okay. After you fell, Kakashi and Sasuke went on a rampage and slaughtered that army within minutes. Itachi went on to explain. If anything, your fall was a catalyst for them, giving them strength and courage. Add in the fact that you took out almost half of them. I see the potential of greatness in you, something I want to see you achieve. What? Naruto thought, a little confused. From the sounds of that, Itachi wanted to help train him. That didn't make any sense to Naruto. It wasn't like he was a prodigy, so why would Itachi even consider wasting his time with him? Are you offering to train me? He asked slowly, a little hesitant. Itachi gave him a genuine smile. Only for a short period, for 2 months. With the Chunin exams are in 3 months from now, I doubt that you'll want to be left out of that. Why would you want to train me of all people? Naruto asked. I mean, I'm awesome and all, but you don't seem like you like Konoha. This has nothing to do with the Leaf Village, Itachi stated, his posture turning stony again. It had a lot to do with the Leaf, more so than Itachi ever hoped Naruto heard about before Itachi died. This is about you being one of the only innocent members of my clan. Naruto stared at him dumbly. What? He asked meekly. I thought I was very clear, but perhaps that was too subtle, Itachi said dryly. You are from my clan, you are a Uchiha. I'm a Uchiha? Naruto repeated questionably, as if testing the waters. Then he turned incredulous. I am a Uchiha? There are so many things about that don't make sense. I should take you to go get your head examined. Itachi pretended he didn't hear that remark. Your mother was a jonin of the Leaf named Uchiha Kushina, and she earned the nickname Red Hot Habanero of Konoha. She had a little brother named Uchiha Obito, who died long before I was born on a mission in the Third Shinobi World War. Itachi explained. Naruto stared at him blankly, not knowing what to do or say. Your parents named you Uzumaki because they were a famed clan that was known for their luck, and to help hide your true identity so that you wouldn't inherit their enemies. That was at least Itachi's assumption. They were both likely aware of the planned coup as far as Itachi knew. That a good enough explanation? For Naruto, it wasn't. Dude, have you seen me in actual light? He asked. I look nothing like a Uchiha. I have blonde hair and blue eyes, and on top of that, I suck as a ninja. The Uchiha always are the best, and I failed 3 times before graduating because of a fluke. Naruto hated admitting it about himself, but it was the truth. In most realities, he wouldn't have ever earned his forehead protector. Appearance is irrelevant, Itachi stated calmly. And your academy instructors hated you, Naruto. You're a walking reminder of the Kyuubi, the being that nearly tore Konoha apart brick by brick. Iruka-sensei doesn't hate me. Naruto disputed Itachi's claim, immediately thinking of the scarred-faced teacher that had been a surrogate brother for him. He's one of the only people who have ever cared about me. And I said nothing about one particular teacher, Itachi pointed out. If I did, I believe the first teacher that comes to mind would be Mizuki. But never mind that, Naruto, just know that I am doing this because your mother was a member of my clan, and by extension, that means you are as well. Naruto went silent as he let all this digest. While he honestly didn't believe this for a second, what did Itachi gain by lying to him? After a minute, he asked the obvious question. Will I ever have a Sharingan? Unlike most obvious questions, this was one that Itachi didn't know the answer to. On one hand, it was in his blood, so the potential should be there, but Naruto looked so much like his father it was almost unnatural. Truthfully? I don't know, Itachi answered. Your bloodlines are both dominant, and since you look so much like your father, you may not be able to under the same type of training that I had to do. But you think I can, right? Naruto asked, his brow furrowing. Itachi paused. Before he spoke, we will discover over the course of your training under me. Speaking of that, you should rest. Dawn is in a few hours, and we will begin then. Naruto nodded, not asking how Itachi could tell what time it was, and laid back down on the bed he had been sitting on. Itachi turned away and left the room, and Naruto closed his eyes. Undisclosed location, same time. This discussion had been going on for hours now, 2 old friends talking over sake. What do you say, old friend? If you rejoin us, we'll aid your new village. A man spoke. He was outside of his protective puppet for the first time in years now. However, as a sign of trust, he went without it for the time being. Came the response. Tell me, Sasori, who was it that died this time? Was it Deidara, or did Kakuzu finally find a way to kill Haiden? The puppeteer didn't dignify any of that, because none of it had occurred. There is no way the Akatsuki would be desperate enough to try to bring me back into the fold unless a core member was no longer with the organization. Sasori ran a hand through his hair. It was Itachi he left, Sasori said in a rather bland tone. Though I assumed you already knew this, Orochimaru. You have a very well-equipped spy network of your own. You surely were aware of how Itachi was actually intelligent about it, waited until Kisame fell asleep before he left. So the weasel tricked you all, eh? Orochimaru chuckled at his own bad joke, referencing to how Itachi's name meant weasel. Too bad then. Sasori ignored the Sanin's tone. Will you rejoin the Akatsuki, or not? Orochimaru pretended to think about it. While it wouldn't really benefit him at the moment, he could use it as a way to achieve his own goals. Why not? It will be a good way for me to gather samples for new plans of mine. Good, Sasori said, sipping on the sake in his cup. His body couldn't digest sake properly, so he had to take it in as more of a wine to be sipped and savored. However, he was fully aware of what Orochimaru was implying. Not that he really cared, everyone in the Akatsuki had their own motives. Kisame sought out fights, Deidara wanted to prove to the world that art was an explosion, even he wanted to collect more corpses for his human puppet collection. Throwing Orochimaru's probable plans of gaining immortality was nothing that fazed him. You know, I was sent to retrieve your ring by any means, Sasori casually remarked. Which meant I either had to recruit you back or kill you. Thank you for choosing the former, it would be a waste of both my time and yours if we were to fight. Yes, we both know how much you hate wasting time, Orochimaru drawled with a smile. Same location as last time? Same location, same jutsu, Sasori confirmed, standing up. Be there tomorrow at dusk for your reintroduction into the Akatsuki. The leader isn't afraid of former members, is he? Orochimaru grinned while pouring himself another drink. Only coming after me when another member left. No, you're just overly careful, Sasori replied. It took you starting the foundation of a country to track you down. We've been one ring short for almost a decade now. True, but I only did it because I know that I am the untouchable one here, Orochimaru thought with a smile, downing his cup of sake. Should I show you the door? No, Sasori said bluntly, disappearing in a poof of smoke. Orochimaru grinned to himself, a voice speaking to him. He isn't a talkative man, is he? The snake Sannin chuckled. No, but dear Sasori was never one for idle chatter. He turned to see a man leaning against a wall unnoticed by Sasori. This man had a hood covering most of his face, leaving only his mouth exposed. He wore a navy blue jacket with gold trimmings along the collar, pockets, and a gold line running down both sleeves. He wore gray pants and, despite the unspoken shinobi dress code of wearing sandals, wore a pair of combat boots. A katana with a crimson handle was in its plain black sheath across his back, the handle poking over his shoulder. How goes our phase 1? Orochimaru asked. It went well, Orochimaru. He plopped down on the couch across Orochimaru. My clansmen filled most of the vacancies, however the various minor clans that have gathered here helped tremendously. Phase 2 has already begun, and thanks to the civil war in Kiri, either side notices the missing bloodline users. We need more than just ninjas from that backwash nation, Orochimaru pointed out, his tone trying not to sound testy. I want more than just Kiri. I want you to scour the world, pick off a few at a time. Bring them to me, and I'll do the rest. If need be, rob a grave or two for the perfect test subject. The guest paid little mind to Orochimaru's tone, though he did smirk slightly at the mention of robbing a grave. I'll have my clan do the grave robbing, Orochimaru, but I will not sully my own hands in such an act, the guest said, his voice sounding amused. Taking that as an affirmation that he'll see to it, Orochimaru relaxed. I cannot afford to lose his support over a disagreement. With the extra aid from the Akatsuki, I believe that this village has a bright future ahead of it. The guest smirked, putting his hands behind his head and kicking his feet up on the table in front of him. As I have said, Orochimaru's smile grew sinister. Everything will eventually just fall into place. Konoha will be the only obstacle in our way, and even then they would only be the size of an ant before a bijou. Both of us will have what we seek, and then some, Orochimaru said, pouring a new cup of sake and offering it to his guest. The guest took it, and gulped it down like a shot. I will reclaim what was stolen, and you will gain what you deserve. But what of the now? What shall we do in the meantime? For now, the Akatsuki will be attempting to size the Jinchuriki up while amassing funds. Orochimaru explained his plan. A perfect opportunity for us to do the same. The guest's smirk curled into a smile, chuckling to himself. Indeed. September 5th, a few minutes later. Itachi sat in the throne room of the hideout, deep in thought. He had come here as soon as he left Naruto's quarters, and was listening to the sound of rain still patting the roof. A few days ago, he sent a letter via his ravens to inform Hiruzen of Naruto's survival and Itachi's intention of preparing Naruto for the challenges that lay ahead of him. Like he told Naruto, he wouldn't hold Naruto for too long. The boy would be back in Konoha with a month before the Chunin exams. While for most people, 2 months of training would not be efficient, Itachi will send reports from the Hokage about Naruto so that Itachi will know how to keep the Akatsuki off his trail. He had a plan to make it so that Naruto would grow to become stronger than anyone thought possible for him in a short amount of time. Out of the blue, he saw a poof of smoke all but appear before him. You know, Itachi, a man in the smoke said. I don't know whether to hit you or hug you right now. Itachi cracked a smile. Hello to you as well, Jiraiya, he greeted. The smoke dissipated and a tall man with spiky white hair stood proudly before the Uchiha. You were supposed to be here an hour ago. I was busy, Jiraiya said with the most serious face possible, crossing his arms. Itachi raised a brow. The nearest hot spring is 30 miles up the road. Jiraiya smirked lecherously. I know. Itachi rolled his eyes and shook his head, while Jiraiya lost the humor for a moment. I know you just saved Naruto's life and all, but did you have to ditch the Akatsuki? Jiraiya asked, sitting Indian-styled on the floor. We needed our eyes on the inside for a group like them. I did what I had to, Itachi stated. What else could I have done? Rhetoric question or not, Jiraiya raised a brow before he spoke in a blunt tone. Killing Kisame before you left might have helped us out. That was a split-second decision, Itachi answered. I didn't want to risk starting a full fight with Kisame if Naruto is going to bleed to death while it's occurring. Still, Jiraiya stood up, growing bored sitting down. Leaving a crow behind to mock him wasn't a good idea. Itachi kept a blank face, the look almost glued to his face. It was my way of making sure he didn't wake up while I was in the area. I can see from the eyes of my birds. Then you know he slept for another hour, well after you already left. Jiraiya deadpanned. Itachi again raised an eyebrow. How do you even know that? Because I'm a badass motherfucker, that's how, Jiraiya said rather loudly, while striking a pose. Itachi's sweat dropped after watching Jiraiya's antics. This is the great toad sage of Konoha, he thought, a wry smile crossing his face. But on a more serious matter, Jiraiya turned serious again. The Akatsuki, there's been some reports that they might not be the only problem we have anymore, nor are they our biggest concern. What? Itachi asked. What could possibly be more dangerous than an organization with core members being S-rank shinobi? An entire country full of them, Jiraiya said back. Granted, none of them have criminal records, it's still big news when entire families from IWA, Suna, and even Kumo all hightail for this Otogekure. Otogekure? Itachi had heard rumors about it. Do they have allies? That's the kicker, Jiraiya stated. They are in talks with AIM, but have refused contact with all other nations at the moment. Itachi was now paying close attention. AIM the Akatsuki? Jiraiya nodded grimly. If that's not bad enough, Kumo and later IWA tried to sneak in and scout the area. That was months ago. Not a single person had reported in since they entered the country. They are presumed deceased. Itachi raised an incredulous brow. That was just unbelievable. A new country shouldn't, no, it couldn't be strong enough to repel two of the Great Five Nations. It's outright insane. It's, well, scary to me that two of the Great Five Nations, two of the strongest of the Great Five Nations and our greatest rivals over the years, can't get through the defenses of a newly formed nation. It's scarier to think that it's formed out of the remnants of Yuzushiogakure, right above the Land of Fire's borders. Itachi remained silent. He didn't really have anything to add to that, and pondered Jiraiya's words. The Toad Sage glanced back at Naruto's room, deciding to change the topic. What are you going to do with Naruto? 2 months isn't nearly long enough to train someone in more than basics. It's plenty of time. Itachi smiled lightly, happy to be able to relax. I'll be using the shadow clone training method with him. He'll be Chunin level before he leaves here. How many clones can he make? Jiraiya asked, a little flabbergasted. The training method was an extreme measure, one where someone summoned as many shadow clones as they could and then each of them did exercises. To make it effective, multiple clones were required, but most shinobi couldn't even make one. Against Mizuki, Hokage-sama told me he made over 1,000. Itachi answered in a monotone voice. With me, I will limit his clones to 100. Jiraiya just stared at Itachi like the Uchiha grew a second head. 1,000, that's Bija level chakra reserves. And 100, damn it, that's more than I can make. You don't even need to be a sensor to pick up on how much chakra he has. He's like a walking chakra battery in that aspect. Itachi gave another wry smile, before changing the subject. So, what brings you this way? It isn't like Konoha is in this direction. Remember what I said about Otogekure, how they're right above us? Jiraiya asked. I'm to infiltrate it, and find out what I can. Itachi looked at the Sannin. I'd wish you luck, but you won't need it, he said, confident in the Toad Sage's abilities. Jiraiya nodded before he glanced at the large door behind him. The sound of rain had grown louder, and the two could hear distant thunder. Why do I always work in the rain? He mused aloud. Dramatic flair. Itachi shrugged, still sitting on his throne. Meh. Jiraiya headed for the exit, before he stopped with his back to Itachi. He looked back with a wide grin on his face. Make him great, Itachi. Itachi smiled. I intend to. Monday, September 7th. Afternoon. Kakashi stood in the Hokage's office, a frown hidden beneath his mask. He had not seen Sakura or Sasuke since they returned to Konoha a few days ago, both of them returning to their home without uttering a single word. The copy ninja didn't blame them. He understood more than they realized that right now, they wanted nothing but space from each other to mourn and grieve in private, to berate themselves for what they perceive as their greatest failures. When in reality it was Kakashi's fault. That was how he felt anyway, and on record it looked like it. Sakura was protecting her teammates as well as the bridge builder. Sasuke was out cold, but Kakashi? He just got sucker punched and was floored. The top shinobi of the Leaf got beat by Momochi Zabuza. Whether it was luck or skill did not matter, the result was Naruto fell 100 feet off of a cliff and probably died because of his incompetence. And the real kicker was that no one else aside from the Hokage had read the report. No one knew what was going on with Team 7. For over 2 days, Kakashi stood at the memorial stone without even moving, something that guy brought to Hiruzen's attention. Kakashi Hiruzen's eyes held nothing but sympathy for Kakashi, knowing that the man had given more than any other in the entire village. Kakashi had lost his father at a young age, had lost both of his teammates, had lost his sensei and role model, And now he had lost his student, the last living legacy of Kakashi's own sensei. A normal man would have already broke under the constant death, yet Kakashi still stood. Shaking, trembling, blaming himself, but still standing. Team 7 has been put on inactive duty to cope with the loss of Naruto, but Kakashi it should the entire rookie class. They are still rookies, with the mindsets of children. None of them have experienced tragedy before, none of their friends have fallen until now. Why do you refuse to tell them what has happened? Why do you refuse to let me tell them what happened? I haven't refused. Kakashi disputed weakly. I haven't gotten around to it. Well then, should I call both teams in here so that you can tell them? Hiruzen asked, to which Kakashi shook his head no. Then we have an issue, because they are going to learn about what happened. Whether from you in private like all shinobi deaths, or if I have to public announce Naruto was killed. No. Kakashi's voice was surprisingly heated, his relaxed posture turning as stiff as a board in an instant. Don't announce it to them, not yet. Of course, Hiruzen wasn't actually going to do that yet. The celebration the villagers would make people think the Yandamain himself returned back from the land of the dead. Seeing that might send Kakashi into a rage that would result in half the village population being killed and Kakashi being executed on the spot. I'll tell them today, Hokage-sama, Kakashi said, letting out a breath he didn't know he was holding. Tell Asuma and Kurenai to bring their squads over to Training Ground 7. I'll be waiting for them there. Hiruzen stared at Kakashi for a moment, before he nodded. All right, Kakashi, he said, taking his attention from the jonin and packing tobacco into his pipe. Without another word, Kakashi left the Hokage's office to give the bad news to the rest of the Rookie 9. I hope I'm not making a mistake, Hiruzen muttered once he was alone, turning around and looking out the window. A letter of Naruto's well-being was crumpled up in his free hand under the desk, bearing the signature of Uchiha Itachi. September 7th, the evening. It was a tense atmosphere in the training ground, 6 of the Rookie 9 all present. Their teachers had left them there to mourn with each other in private, remembering the first time they all lost a comrade. No one said a word as what they heard from Kakashi sank in. Naruto is dead. I can't believe it. Choji murmured softly to himself, the first one to regain his voice. Naruto's gone? Aside from Shikamaru, Naruto was one of the few people that didn't pick on him for being overweight. While admittedly they weren't best friends like he and Shikamaru were, Choji still considered him a good friend. Across from him, Inuzuka Kiba grunted. Believe it, he said in a bitter tone, mocking Naruto's old saying at the same time. Akamaru whined above his head, and Kiba absently scratched him behind the ear. It's not right, Shikamaru said aloud, looking up at the cloudless sky. Sure, he was the dead last and all, he did worse than I did in the academy, but he was Naruto. The Nara looked conflicted. He can't be dead. He's not dead, Ino muttered before she started ranting. Sasuke-kun wouldn't let him die, either would Kakashi or even Forehead. This is probably a stupid prank of his. It's not funny, you. If it was a prank, why did it look like Kakashi-sensei had been crying? Kiba snapped at her sharply. And why have Sasuke and Sakura been at home and refusing to come out since they've gotten back? Face it, Ino, Naruto is dead and this isn't a fucking prank. The tongue lashing from the Inuzuka clan heir did nothing to stop Ino from glaring back at the Inuzuka heatedly. Naruto can't be dead, he's our age. Some of us aren't even teenagers yet, and you expect me to believe that Baka is dead? The Inuzuka clenched his fist in his lap. Akamaru whined and looked up at Kiba, trying to tell him to stop arguing with the Yamanaka heiress. He isn't dead, Ino insisted, standing up. Naruto might be an idiotic, brash, no-good jerk, but he isn't stupid enough to go get himself killed. Even if he was, he has Kakashi-sensei and Sasuke with him on missions doing the heavy lifting. Actually, Kakashi told us that Naruto killed more people than Sasuke and Kakashi combined. Shikamaru reminded her absently. His voice was hollow and cracking, desperately trying to hold back the dam of emotions about to come to the surface. And Naruto did it on his own, protecting both of them along with that village. The Inuzuka scoffed. So he died a hero. Kiba looked away from his former classmates, tears glistening in his eyes. Doesn't change the fact that he is dead. I have to agree with Kiba-san, Shino said, his tone still as blank as ever. The Aburame's high collar and sunglasses prevented everyone from seeing the tears rolling down his own face. Logic dictates that Naruto died in the fall, or if he survived it he bled out in the river. I also agree with my teammates. The Hyuga heiress spoke in a very uncharacteristic cold tone, not that anyone else paid mind to it. He's dead, and that won't be changing anytime soon. Get over it. Ino glanced back at her teammates, expecting them to come to her side of the argument. However, either Choji or Shikamaru even looked remotely interested in the conversation. Choji because he was crying into his hands, and Shikamaru because he was staring up at the sky. Shikamaru would never admit it aloud, but he was praying to anyone that was listening for guidance. He was praying for a sign that everything was going to be alright, a sign that told him his friend wasn't actually dead. He never got it. You're all wrong, Ino shouted, not caring how her voice cracked. Completely wrong. Kiba relented a depressed sigh. I wish we were Ino. Team 8 eventually took their leave, albeit at separate times. They wanted to mourn in private, not in the company of others at this point. Team 10, however, was comfortable enough with each other to remain together, and cried their hearts out. Ino sniffed quietly, still standing up after Team 8 left. Do you guys think he's dead? She turned to look at her teammates again, hoping at least one of them would say no. However, Choji didn't even look at her to answer, he didn't even register the question. The Akimichi was too busy crying into his hands. But the Nara boy next to him did register the question, and he stared at his blonde teammate with eyes like shattered glass. He opened his mouth to speak, but no words came out. Shikamaru closed his mouth, and just stood up and began to walk away. Saratobi Asuma looked down at his team sadly. Get used to the feeling, kids, he mumbled, putting a cigarette in his mouth and lighting it. You'll need to. November 1st, 2 months later. Naruto was tired and frustrated. Over the last 2 months with Itachi, he had tried and failed to unlock his eyes. He had mixed feelings about that if he was going to be honest. He would never in a million years admit it out loud, but when Sasuke awakened his Sharingan, Naruto thought it was just completely badass. Add in the skill it gave him, and Naruto was almost jealous. Almost. Mostly because more times than wanting it, he was scared of having it. If he ever did unlock them, what would the village say? What would they do? They hated him with their every breath. If they saw that he had the eyes of legends, would that push them to their breaking point? Would they actually try to kill him for it? Even worse, how would the rest of the genin of his class and the 3 he had yet to meet from the year before say? That he didn't deserve them? How would Sasuke react? They never did not see eye to eye, but what if Sasuke thought that Naruto was trying to pull a sick joke on him? The boy would try to kill him in sheer rage. And Naruto could understand that. Hell, Naruto would expect that. It's what he would do if their roles were reversed. Regardless, he had yet to succeed. He was glad about that. He didn't know if he even wanted it, especially given the damage he caused without it. When he thought back to the bridge, he only got snippets of what happened. But the things he did see was so disgusting that they nearly made him vomit. He slaughtered 50 people, brutally too. Itachi had told him that the first kills are always the hardest. Well, given that Itachi was the guy that killed his whole family one by one in a singular fashion, Naruto took his word for it. However, even with all this going on, trying to unlock them was not all Naruto had done, far from it. Thanks to his shadow clones making training for a month the equivalent of almost 2 years, he grew by leaps and bounds. Itachi then taught him multiple styles of taijutsu, as well as helping Naruto discover his affinity with wind, while working in a fire affinity as well. In mere weeks, he learned a lot of powerful wind and fire ninjutsu. Naruto also learned how to mold chakra into shapes to a degree, but has yet to do anything with it nor focus on it. In this time, his muscles had grown more defined as well, not enough to bulge or make him broad-chested, but definitely making him appear slightly bigger than the malnourished boy who graduated 3 months ago. He had grown faster as well, a combination result of wearing weights and running miles upon miles, learning how to shushin, and when Itachi's frustration reached its peak now and then and he ran after Naruto with a katana. Naruto's general appearance had taken a change, thanks in part to a new wardrobe at the hideout. He wore a sleeveless orange windbreaker with a long-sleeve blue shirt underneath. He also wore navy blue pants, hiding 50-pound weights on each weight above his ankles. He had the average ninja sandals on his feet to complete his new outfit. That was one of the few things Itachi was never able to break him off, his distinct need to wear orange. He tried everything to stop him from wearing it, going as far as trying to burn it straight off his body with a fireball. Safe to say that it didn't work. His hair had only grown slightly, thankfully, but the scar running across his right eye was still a prominent feature. It ran right under his eye horizontal, from his ear to the top of his nose, 1/10 of an inch from his eye. Naruto had jokingly taken to calling it his 4th whisker. Now they were on their journey to send Naruto back to Konoha, where the two would part ways and Naruto would hope prepare for the Chunin exams in 6 weeks' time. Currently they weren't too far away from Konoha, only 20 miles from the village hidden in the leaves. They were at an inn in a small suburb of the village, where people seemed to realize that they knew him, but didn't recognize him. They were eating a peaceful dinner of ramen noodles and sushi, when the door at the front of the restaurant opened. Normally, such small things wouldn't catch Naruto's eye, but when he could feel the power coming off the man like a beacon, he'll notice it pretty easily. The new arrival wore a simple outfit, consisting of a yellow overshirt with a long dark green shirt underneath it. He had gray pants as well as the standard ninja sandals, and a weird purple rope around his waist. He also had long black hair with gray skin and yellow snake-like eyes. The snake-eyed man sat down at a table across the restaurant from them, though he was smirking and staring right at Itachi as if he knew exactly who he was. Itachi glanced back at the man, before his eyes went back to his food. However, Naruto could tell when something was up. "Naruto, I want you to get out of here. Now," he whispered to the Kyuubi no Kitsune's Jinchuriki. "Why?" Naruto whispered back, his voice slightly louder than Itachi's, but still not loud enough to draw attention to them. He knew instantly the reason had to do with the man with the snake eyes. "Trust me, Naruto, that man is not someone you want to trifle with. I can handle him myself if I must, but you would be killed in moments in a fight with him," Itachi said, his eyes darting subtly between Naruto and at the snake-eyed man. Naruto bit back a retort and asked a simple question. "Who is he then?" "His name is Orochimaru, and he is considered by many to be the strongest of the Sannin. He has a desperate obsession with defeating a Uchiha and stealing their body to take their eyes," the Nuke Nin answered. Naruto frowned, before he said a little loudly, "He almost sounds like a pedo when you word it like that." The snake Sannin glanced over at Naruto, and a sinister smile appeared on his face before he sat at the table across from them. He definitely heard that last comment. Itachi stood abruptly, and said, "Come on, Naruto, we're leaving." "Alright," Naruto said, his eyes meeting Orochimaru's. The boy saw the curiosity in the snake Sannin's eyes, as if knowing exactly who Naruto was. Creepy enough, given that this was the first time Naruto had seen the man before. "I still think I could take him," Naruto muttered to himself, while Itachi put 100 Ryu on the table as payment. Naruto walked behind Itachi with his hands behind his head in a relaxed manner until they were outside, not understanding the danger they were in. Once the two were out of the inn, however, they both saw Orochimaru leave it as well out of the corner of their eyes. Naruto's hands fell down to his side, ready to fight. He might have been considered dense by most people, but even he could tell something was about to go down between them. Itachi stopped in the middle of the road, and with his back turned, he spoke. "Why are you following us, Snake?" Orochimaru stopped as well, about 10 yards away. "I have no interest in you, Itachi," he said, his voice as smooth as silk. "I simply wanted to know if that is Minato's son. Because the boy certainly looks like Jiraiya's former student." Naruto's face scrunched up in confusion. He could have sworn that he had heard the name Minato before, but he couldn't recall who it was. However, his eyes widened as he heard Itachi say he is. "If that is all, leave us be." "Wait, this guy knew my dad?" Naruto asked Itachi, looking back at Orochimaru curiously. Orochimaru ignored Naruto and spoke directly to Itachi, a twinkle in his eyes and a dangerous smirk playing his face. But Minato married that Uchiha girl, didn't he? Kushina, I believe was her name." Itachi had never truly looked threatening in the time that Naruto had spent with him, but what he saw could only be defined as such when Itachi stared at the Nin before them. His Sharingan activated without a second's hesitation, his hand resting on the hilt of his katana. "If you try anything." Whatever Itachi was about to say was interrupted when he was clobbered in the back of the head, sending him forward. However, the blow did not knock the man out, only enraging the Uchiha. Itachi rolled to his feet to face his attacker, surprised to see Kisame grinning at him. "Ah, I see you've met my associate. Surprised to see such a familiar face, Itachi?" Orochimaru quipped, crossing his arms. "Don't worry, I'm pretty sure he doesn't bite. But I could be wrong." Kisame said nothing, though a toothy grin adorned his face while he stared down Itachi. "Naruto, get out of here!" Itachi growled through clenched teeth, the blonde boy staring with wide eyes at the superpowers before him all about to fight. Instead of being afraid, Naruto grinned and fell in his own stance, saying, "Not a chance, Itachi-sensei. If I'm going to be the next Hokage, I need to see how far I have to grow." "Spoken like a true ninja," Orochimaru said mockingly, grinning like a madman. Then all hell broke loose. Itachi was the first to move, drawing his katana as he moved in a blur. He swung his weapon at Kisame's neck, hoping to catch the shark Nin off guard and kill him quickly. Unfortunately, it didn't work as Kisame parried the attack with Samahada. The two swords clashed, though Itachi was forced to pull back due to the abnormal size difference between the two weapons. Orochimaru smirked as he pointed his hand at Itachi, who was out of his guard at the moment. A snake flew out from under his sleeve and lunged straight for Itachi's throat, who could only watch as it flew closer and closer to him. However, Naruto grabbed the snake by the end of its tail and in a fluid spin swung it around like a mace right back at Orochimaru. Orochimaru ducked under it, watching the serpent sail over his head and smash into a jagged rock nearby. Before Itachi could even think of intervening between Naruto and Orochimaru, Kisame swung Samahada down like a hammer at him, smashing a crater into the ground. A bloodthirsty grin adorned itself on Kisame's face. "You and me, Itachi, I got a score to settle with you." Itachi's eyes widened as Kisame's body smashed into him, tackling him away from Naruto and Orochimaru. While Itachi's struggle began against Kisame, Naruto swung a kick up at Orochimaru's face, which was easily blocked by the more experienced shinobi he was up against. Orochimaru shoved Naruto's leg back, expecting the boy to be as slow as any dead last of the academy was going to be, when instead Naruto found his footing rather easily and sent his other leg up to try and knee Orochimaru in the chin. Orochimaru almost blinked in surprise, but restrained himself so that he could actually follow the movements. The Sannin caught Naruto's knee and shoved the boy backwards again. Naruto growled, thinking, "Alright, I can already tell this guy is good." The moment he caught his footing, though, he shot at Orochimaru like lightning once more without a hint of doubt about him. He has the speed of his father at that age, but not the tactical prowess, Orochimaru thought, blocking a punch from Naruto. Minato was patient, he preferred to fight his battles defensively, only attacking when he saw an opening. Given that he could punch about 10 times in under a second, that strategy tended to work for him. Naruto, however, was not patient. Far from it, in fact, as he never let Orochimaru get a single attack off, constantly trying to pound his opponent into the dirt. In short, where Minato was more of a finesse fighter, Naruto was a wrecking ball. Orochimaru caught Naruto's outstretched fist by the wrist and delivered a quick knee to the ribs to the Jinchuriki. Naruto doubled over, but he blocked Orochimaru's follow-up of a kick to the head with his arms. He aimed a kick straight at Orochimaru's ankle, trying to either break it or sweep the man's legs out. Instead, he received a kick to the nose from the Sannin, knocking him clear off the road and into the trees. "Damn it," Naruto thought with a groan before he flipped back up to his feet and back into his stance. Orochimaru had yet to move yet, simply smirking down at Naruto from the road. The villagers were all watching with rising interest, having never seen a shinobi battle this close before. "Is that all you have, Naruto-kun?" I was beginning to get my hopes up too. Orochimaru shook his head in a mocking fashion. Instead of a reply, Naruto growled and did a hand seal to perform his favorite jutsu. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. Instantly 4 Naruto clones popped to life, all side by side with the original. Orochimaru prepared for another attempt at Naruto trying to pummel him in taijutsu, when the Uzumaki caught him well off guard with a surprise attack. Mega Inpakuto. Naruto jumped up into the air and jammed his knee into the Sannin's face, making Orochimaru stumble backwards while the Bunshins all began weaving through hand seals. Futon de Tapa. They spoke simultaneously, the jutsu altering the direction of the slight breeze and giving it the momentum of a tornado. Orochimaru stood his ground, the trees behind him shattering into splinters. "You have the stamina of a herd of oxen, Naruto-kun." Orochimaru's voice was terrifyingly happy, as if he enjoyed the attempts Naruto was making at harming him. "But you and I both know, you stand no chance at beating someone on my level." "Joke's on you, I've never heard of you." Naruto's uttered from behind Orochimaru, his fist cocked back to strike the back of the snake Sannin's head. Orochimaru didn't even turn around, just moved his head over to the side and let Naruto's fist hit empty air. He jabbed backwards with his elbow, hitting Naruto in the sternum. The sheer force stopped Naruto in his tracks, letting blood and saliva flying out of his mouth. He fell to his knees, desperately trying to catch his breath. And if not for his clones, he would have probably ended up dead. While his attention was on the real Naruto, the clones all surged forward, just as fast as original. The middle clone reached Orochimaru first, his fist rocketing at Orochimaru's chin. The Sannin caught the clone's outstretched fist, a blank look on his face. He didn't expect the 2 fists that collided with his face a moment later, though, stunning him. The 4th clone stepped off the shoulder of the first, and used both his feet to kick Orochimaru in the nose with all his might. The impact launched Orochimaru backwards, catapulting him through the thick trees in the forest and back onto the forest. The real Naruto was still gasping for breath when his clones helped him up, but that didn't stop the heated glare he shot in the direction Orochimaru went. "Did you get him, mister?" a childish voice said behind one of the clones said, tugging on the back of his shirt. The Naruto clone looked down in alarm, surprised that a small child of about 3 years old standing idly behind him, unaware of the danger he inadvertently put himself in. "Kid, what are you doing?" Naruto all but shouted down, accidentally scaring the child. "Wait, don't cry. Oh, you are just full of surprises today, Naruto-kun." They looked at Orochimaru, and their eyes widened in shock. Aside from scuffing up his clothes, the Sannin was undamaged. "Get him out of here. Now," Naruto told the clone, who nodded wordlessly and picked him up. "Hold on tight." The clone ordered the kid, running off to the village with the kid in tow. "Ah, you didn't want an audience to see your death for a second time?" Orochimaru asked in a sickly sweet voice. "A shame." Naruto clenched his teeth and tightened his fist, but didn't verbally say anything. Any quips he had to shoot back were lost in the recesses of his mind, his focus more on stopping himself from shaking in his sandals. "This is gonna suck," he summed up in his head nicely. Still, without a hint of hesitation, he and his clones began weaving hand seals. "Katon, Gokakyu no Jutsu." As the attack moved closer, Orochimaru thought to himself, so he can use 2 styles as well, HM? Interesting, very interesting. The attack scorched the earth where Orochimaru was standing, kicking up smoke and dust. "Did we get him?" a clone asked, staring at the smoke-covered area. He got his answer when the ground cracked beneath his feet, and a hand shot up out of the ground. Orochimaru held his hand against the clone's throat, snapping its neck and dispelling it with a single twitch in his wrist. The real Naruto looked over in surprise. "That could have easily been me," he thought. The 3 remaining clones backed up a step in shock. However, Orochimaru was growing bored with playing around with them. He backhanded one clone right across the cheek, while his other hand aimed itself at another clone and sent a snake flying after him. A foot-long sword came out of the serpent's jaws, and impaled itself through the clone's throat. The 3rd clone didn't even let Orochimaru get himself set to defend when he lunged forward with his fist cocked back. It proved futile though, as Orochimaru stepped to the side, and kicked the clone in the chest, dispelling it. "Where's the real one?" Orochimaru thought, turning around while looking for him. He found Naruto standing a dozen yards away, smirking as he went through hand seals. "Got you," he murmured before he launched his attack. "Katon, Karyu Enden." Orochimaru's eyes went wide as a serpent made of flame coiled around Naruto. It snarled at Orochimaru, giving out an ear-splitting roar before it launched at the snake Sannin. Right as Naruto expected to roast him alive, he felt something clobber him in the back of the head, sending him down the road, much closer to the town than before. The clone that ran off earlier was still running around the town, trying to find the kid's parents. Naruto glanced at the clone before he looked at where he once stood, not surprised to see Orochimaru was standing there, 6 smirks still adorning his unnaturally pale face. "This is just depressing, Naruto-kun. Aside from looks, you didn't inherit anything from your father," Orochimaru taunted at him. "Shut up." Naruto spat venomously, his eyes flashing red for a moment. "I don't care if you knew my dad, because he was a good person. No way was he friends with you." "True, we weren't friends, but still I think we respected each other," Orochimaru acknowledged with a smirk. He was really going to enjoy this part. "We did compete for the spot of 4th Hokage. A contest in which he was victorious." Naruto felt his blood run cold. It clicked together in his mind in but a moment, what Orochimaru just said. The 4th Hokage's name was Namikaze Minato. The 4th Hokage was his father. "Damn fool, you're going to get us killed. Stop standing around and fight," a voice roared in Naruto's head. "Who the hell are you and why are you in my head?" Naruto thought back, momentarily forgetting about the fight, which proved costly. Orochimaru moved like a man possessed, his fist about to collide with Naruto's face. The Jinchuriki threw his arms up to block the punch, though a snapping sound still rang clear in Naruto's ear and agony burst through his left arm. He was blasted backwards, tearing through the ground. Orochimaru walked right up to Naruto's downed form, and grabbed his collar. "Alright, I think I'm done playing with you. What's this?" Instead of a face like he was expecting, he was looking down at a wooden dummy with a scratched-on smiley face. In addition to that, a strange hissing noise was hitting Orochimaru's ears. A second later, it dawned on Orochimaru what Naruto was doing. You clever little brat. Boom! The explosion seemed to rock the world, the villagers all having to put an arm in front of their eyes. Thick black smoke blanketed the area, though Naruto appeared sitting atop a tree looking down at the remnants of the explosion. Get up from that, you bastard! Naruto exclaimed, a wide grin on his face and an arm in the air. His left arm hung limply at his side, but his right arm was raised in celebration. From behind Naruto, however, he heard a chilling laugh. I'll admit, Naruto, you are full of surprises. There was no way, no possible way. Naruto turned around, and a fist collided with his jaw with the force of a jackhammer. Naruto shot down through the thinning blanket of smoke and smashed into the ground, his face buried in the ground. See, Naruto? No matter how strong Itachi has made you over the last 2 months, I am a man with no equal, especially from a dead last loser like you. Orochimaru taunted, leaping down to the ground. He walked leisurely to Naruto's downed form, taking time to savor the moment. He might not have ever got to do it to Minato for taking what was rightfully his, but using his son as a punching bag was proving to be a great stress reliever. Naruto was barely conscious. That much the boy knew, but he felt a familiar sensation of rage building in his chest, his vision turning red. Orochimaru was about to grab the back of Naruto's collar, when his body just erupted with red chakra. It cloaked him like a suit of armor, a lone tail forming and knocking Orochimaru away. Naruto pushed himself up onto all fours, a menacing growl coming from his throat. He turned his head to glare at Orochimaru, who found himself staring into the eyes of a monster. The Jinchuriki bared his teeth, which had turned into fangs. His whisker marks had grown bigger, while the scar on his face looked more defined. His nails hardened into claws stabbing through the dirt. Blood dripped from Naruto's mouth, and when the first drop of the red liquid hit the ground, he charged, roaring in absolute fury. Itachi managed to throw Kisame off of him after a few minutes of the shark nin dragging him through the forest. The two former partners now stood only 10 feet away from each other, both in their respective kenjutsu stances. Fucking traitor, Kisame growled, a twisted smile on his face. I'm gonna enjoy feeding your chakra to Samahata. Good luck with that, Itachi said, an expressionless look on his face. You'll need it. Kisame didn't speak, narrowing his eyes. After a moment, his face broke out in a toothy grin while he did hand seals and shouted Suiton, Suikoden no Jutsu. Itachi did his own signs and did the same move, copying his opponent's movements with his Sharingan. Glowing blue sharks launched through the air, smashing into each other, steam filling the air. Through the white smoke, Itachi charged forward, katana still in his hand. Kisame's grip on Samahata shifted, pulling it in an upward stroke to parry Itachi's attack. Their swords clashed, pressed hard against each other in a stalemate. The power struggle didn't last though. Itachi went for a kill shot straight out of the gate. Pulling out a kunai with his free hand, he tried to slash out Kisame's throat before the shark nin could react. And while he did hit Kisame, it wasn't the kill shot he intended it to be. Instead, all he got was a scratch on the shark nin's face. Gah! You little bastard! Kisame growled, kicking Itachi in the chest and knocking him away. While it was true, in most aspects Itachi was just a better shinobi than him, Kisame was just a brute. He was much stronger than Itachi, and fighting him head-to-head was downright suicide. I can't overpower him, Itachi conceded in his head, ducking under a quick strike from the monster of the mist. But I can certainly outsmart him. Weaving through hand seals, he spoke under his breath, Katon, Gokaki no Jutsu. A giant ball of flame made its way towards Kisame, singeing the ground beneath it. Suiton, Suiden no Jutsu. Kisame countered the fireball with an attack of his own, blasting a jet of water and dousing the flames easily. Itachi's Sharingan eyes followed Kisame's every movement, the shark nin hefting his sword once more and charged forward to engage Itachi. Kisame swung for Itachi's neck, an attack that the Uchiha ducked under and proceeded to try and sweep Kisame's legs out. Being much more nimble than most people his size, Kisame was easily able to jump over the low kick. The monster of the mist then tried bringing Samahata down with one hand like it was a hammer, sending his sword rocketing downward. Itachi rolled back, letting the sword smash into the ground where he was. You know, Kisame, you're not bright, he said, a light smile gracing his features. Picking a fight with me, that's a mistake no one has ever lived to repeat. I let you live when I left because I simply deemed you not worth the effort to kill. Oh yeah? Kisame bristled, starting to see red. A personal flaw of his was his hatred for traitors, which in his eyes Itachi fit the bill perfectly. It made his judgment grow cloudy and quick to anger. Then why don't I just show you why everyone fears the tailless-tailed beast? Itachi's smirk broadened, much to Kisame's quiet confusion. Nevertheless, Kisame didn't slow down in the slightest. When he reached Itachi, however, the Uchiha leapt up into the trees, a strange hissing sound coming from beneath Kisame. The hell is that sound? Kisame thought aloud, before looking to the ground and resisting the urge to face palm. Shit! Kisame swore, putting his arms over his face and expecting to be blasted to kingdom come. However, to further his confusion, the explosion never happened. A dud? He frowned as he looked down at the paper bomb, not even noticing Itachi about to shatter his collarbone with a well-placed kick. Karasa no Taran. Itachi dubbed as he brought down his foot, his toes aimed like a point. Kisame fell to the ground, biting back a scream. He got up on one knee, where Itachi roundhouse kicked him in the face, sending him skidding across the ground. Are you tailless because you lost your or because you never had one to begin with? Itachi quipped, the smile never leaving his face. He hadn't got many chances to mouth off in a fight before, but damn was it fun. Kisame used Samahata to help pull himself up to his feet, a snarl on his face. Shut up! He roared. He brought Samahatas up to his good shoulder and charged Itachi, slashing at the smaller man's head. Too easy. Itachi smirked, ducking under it and letting it shatter the tree behind him. All he had to do was throw an insult out there to tick Kisame off. It was hilarious. Not bad, if you were aiming for the tree, Itachi said bluntly, this time not able to stop himself from chuckling as Kisame charged straight at him, Samahata raised above the shark nin's head. Kisame swung, sailing the attack right over Itachi's head. To the Uchiha, this attack seemed to be sloppy and left plenty of defensive holes for Itachi to exploit. The Uchiha tried to attack Kisame's exposed back, however, the shark nin was a sheer brute. The blow did connect, slashing right across his back, but it proved ineffective, and got Itachi a foot into his face. Rolling back from the momentum of his former partner's kick, the Uchiha asked, why would you and Orochimaru work together to take me down? I thought Orochimaru left the organization. Kisame smiled darkly, showing his fangs. It's more of a you help us, we'll help you kind of deal. As for you, you're not the target, Itachi, you're just the distraction. We came for the boy. The shark nin laughed to himself, and continued to speak. To think, that boy has so much power inside of him, and he'll never tap into it. For a moment, Itachi was worried that they knew Naruto was part Uchiha, but upon Kisame finishing what he was saying, his worries subsided. Now that I think about it, I should have known that boy was a Jinchuriki before I even got here. I'm not even a sensor, and I could tell his chakra reserves are massive enough for me to feel a mile away. Why go after the 9 tails? You can't take it from him before you take the other 8. Itachi asked, not expecting an answer. Whatever gave you that impression, Itachi? We were going after him last because he was surrounded by top-tier ninjas from the best village in the world. Now, he's only got you watching over him. This is the best shot we have at getting him, Kisame explained. Itachi's demeanor relaxed a degree, but he was still ready for battle. Are you done talking? He asked coolly. Yeah, are you done breathing? Kisame answered Itachi with another question. No, Itachi said, his Mangekyo Sharingan activating. But are you? Kisame knew better, yet he did it anyway. He looked directly into Itachi's eyes, and immediately regretted it. Before he knew what hit him, the world turned into a weird black and gray, the sky turning a blood red. He tried to move forward, only to find that he was two-dimensional, and as flappable as paper. Itachi had yet to move from his spot, but he had turned black and white, with the only hint of color in the entire world seen to be his Mangekyo eyes. I can make seconds into days. Imagine what I can do to you in 1 minute, Kisame. Itachi whispered, though his voice seemed to come out as a shout right inside Kisame's head. A circle of black flame formed around Kisame, inching closer to the shark nin. You think fire scares me, Itachi? Kisame screamed at him, though his voice was mute. He could not hear his own voice, though Itachi could hear it. No, but at the end, it will terrify you. Itachi's voice was a whisper in the wind, yet still the loud echoing voice as before. A kunai impaled itself through Kisame's back, before a shuriken flew into his chest and a katana through his hip. Blades of all shapes and sizes tore their way into Kisame, burrowing into his flesh. Blood dripped from the corners of Kisame's mouth, but he refused to scream. The black flames began to lick his ankles, before actually beginning to burn Kisame straight to ash. This time, Kisame literally inwardly screamed, keeping his mouth shut as the scream of pain seemed to die in his throat. No one is unbreakable, Kisame, though you're already broken. The various blades impaled throughout Kisame's entire body had lit themselves on fire, forcing the shark Nin finally let out scream in terror and agony. In the real world, Kisame's body slumped to the ground, though Itachi was unsure if he was still alive or not. He would have cared, finished him off and all that jazz, if not for a bright explosion of chakra coming from the way he came, a ray of bluish-white appearing like a beacon going through the clouds. Naruto. 30 minutes ago. Naruto lunged for Orochimaru's throat like an animal, and that was his own opinion. He felt stronger, faster, and overall more powerful than he had in the last 2 months, though at the same time he never felt hatred like this since the bridge. Orochimaru swatted Naruto's hand away, which actually burned his arm. The heat coming off of Naruto was like straight out of a furnace. The snake Sannin narrowed his eyes, before he mentally shrugged and aimed a kick for the Jinchuriki's bruised jaw. Naruto felt his more animalistic side kick into gear, and instead of blocking it, Naruto ate the kick, figuratively and very literally. He caught the kick within inches of his face and sank his teeth straight into Orochimaru's leg, his claws impaling themselves on either side of Orochimaru's leg. Orochimaru was so surprised that he lost his footing, which led to Naruto spinning around and swinging Orochimaru around like he was a rag doll. He let Orochimaru's leg go, but not before he managed to tear out a piece of him with his teeth. The Sannin flew straight through the trees and smashed into a large rock. Orochimaru groaned before standing up, ignoring the annoying pain shooting up his leg. Pesky little brat, he thought with a disturbing smirk, looking up to stare down the child that was his opponent. Instead, he was greeted with a fist colliding with his chin. The attack didn't really hurt, just catching the Sannin off guard, like a lot of what Naruto has been able to do. Orochimaru batted Naruto upwards with a backhand, watching the boy do a back flip in the air and catch a boulder in mid-flight. The heat his chakra cloak was giving off melting straight through the rock he was crouching on. Come on, Naruto, this barely even counts as a warm-up, Orochimaru said in a mocking tone, interested to see how much of the Kyuubi's power he could control. Naruto just growled darkly, tightening his fist. Orochimaru didn't flinch as a second tail began to emerge, and the heat Naruto was giving off got even hotter. If Orochimaru was worried though, he didn't show it. He stood there, almost completely relaxed while he smirked up at Naruto in an almost arrogant fashion. He hadn't even been trying at this point, maybe going at a really, really slow old man walking down the street compared to a professional runner sprinting. Man, maybe the old man was doing a power walk, he'll give him a little credit. Naruto lunged at him again, still trying to impale his claws through Orochimaru's throat. Orochimaru leaned out of the way, ignoring the fact that Naruto was practically a miniature sun in terms of how hot the chakra cloak was right now. He noticed that though they were minor at this point, not even noticeable until the adrenaline fades away, but Naruto had minor burns dotting his face and neck, likely extending through the rest of his body. He jabbed Naruto in the gut, before he kicked him in the temple. Instead of sending him flying like he intended, Naruto put a hand beneath him in a cartwheel, and whacked Orochimaru right in the jaw with his foot. The Sannin stumbled, and Naruto took full advantage with an uppercut to the chin, actually knocking Orochimaru into the air. Naruto grabbed Orochimaru's ankle and smashed him into the ground, letting him bounce up once before kicking him and sending him flying towards the road. Orochimaru turned around in midair and did a flip, landing on his feet with his back turned to Naruto. He turned around to look at Naruto, the arrogant smirk still haven't left his face. You could grow into a major thorn in my side if I let you live, Naruto, he said, laughing slightly. Was he demented or something? But you know, I'm feeling generous and I'll throw you a bone. You want to measure your growth, I'll actually show you 1/10 of my power, sound fair? If Naruto was even listening, he didn't show it. They were now within arm's distance of the closest house from the village they were trying to leave. The clone Naruto was watching with wide eyes at what he was seeing, the child clutching his back tightly. He couldn't find the kid's parents, which was starting to worry the clone. Not as much as seeing himself looking the way he was right now, but still it worried him. Kid, where's your house at? That's probably where your parents are. The clone turned around to look at the boy. It's right there. He pointed at the house right next to Orochimaru, which made the clone curse every god he could think of. I can see mommy inside. His mother was inside, next to the house with Mr. Snake God and terrifying monster Naruto. Lovely. The clone relented a sigh, before he spoke. Then hang tight, kid, because this is a horrible idea. Back in the fight, the real Naruto launched himself at Orochimaru, aiming to pummel the man straight to hell. Orochimaru moved like a viper, ducking and weaving under Naruto's assault as if it was child's play. Is this your best? Really? Orochimaru laughed, backhanding Naruto in the chest and sending him across the road, smashing him through a building. Naruto was in a daze, not even able to stand. That felt more like getting hit by an elephant rather than getting backhanded. The chakra cloak just dissipated, revealing the burns adorning his body. His right sleeve was torn off at the elbow, exposing his arm, and he had a nasty bruise forming on his jaw. Orochimaru began to walk towards the destroyed building, when out of the corner of his eye he saw the clone that ran off earlier, desperately trying to get into building beside him. Without warning, Orochimaru lifted his arm and let a snake fly at the clone, a sword coming out of its jaws. The clone reacted quickly, leaning to the side and catching it by the neck. He snapped said bone, before flinging it away, getting in a stance to defend himself. A single clone, expecting to be able to defeat me? All I need to do is land one hit, Orochimaru said plainly. Not if you can't catch me, the clone said, turning on his heels and sprinting the other direction. Orochimaru rolled his eyes and gave a sigh. Children don't learn. A cloud of smoke encompassed where he was and he appeared right in front of Naruto. Say, is that the kid from earlier? Orochimaru asked, pointing to the boy clinging to Naruto's back. The woman that was inside her house saw her son and ran outside, trying to get to him. Orochimaru glanced at her, and lifted his arm, ignoring Naruto's scream of outrage as he shot a snake for the woman's throat. You son of a bitch! The clone screamed, covering the kid's eyes as the woman had her throat ripped open. Mommy? The boy whimpered, knocking Naruto's hand away to look at her. Mommy! The boy started running towards her, the clone chasing after him yelling, Wait, don't. Orochimaru grabbed the boy by the throat, smirking while looking him in the eye. Don't hurt him! Naruto shouted at Orochimaru, sounding desperate. Leave him alone. No, I don't think I will leave him alone, the snake Sannin said, his face twisting in a sadistic grin. I want to see what happens to a Jinchuriki when they're angry. I want to see how you react to your own failure. His grip tightened and a sickening pop filled the air, the boy's head falling limply to the side with his eyes still open. Orochimaru tossed the boy into the clone of Naruto's chest, who stood there unresponsive and dissipated when the body hit him. The snake Sannin turned to look at the destroyed house almost expectantly. Come out and play Naruto, if you can even stand. Inside, Naruto was still struggling to get back up to his feet when the memories hit him like a punch to the gut. For a moment, he couldn't move from the shock he felt, but that was quickly replaced by absolute fury. Naruto felt a wall inside of him crash down, and a rage like nothing he felt before consumed him. It wasn't like what happened on the bridge or a few minutes ago. No, this couldn't have been the Kyuubi's power. No, this was something else. Naruto screamed in outrage, a blue light blasting through the ruins of the building he was in and going up into the sky like a beacon. The winds increased to typhoon speeds, the very ground beneath Naruto's feet began to char and crack from the sheer power being unleashed above it. Orochimaru was certainly intrigued at this turn of events. Never in my life have I seen such a surprising individual. Just how much power is locked inside your body? His thoughts ran dead when Naruto lowered his head, the Jinchuriki's eyes boring into Orochimaru's soul. They were not Naruto's normal eyes. No, they were brighter, the color of a midday sky instead of a sapphire, and they had two black commas directly across from each other, a bigger black dot dead in the center. Naruto had unlocked his Sharingan. Even though it was incomplete, it was a beautiful sight for Orochimaru, to see such an anomaly ascend for the first time before his eyes. This is the result. This is what Minato and that Uchiha girl created. The snake Sannin thought with a grin. I wonder, how does it vary from the norm? Naruto looked calmly at Orochimaru, his vision never being so clear in his life. Everything was more defined, he could see everything to the smallest degree, even the way each blade of grass blew in the breeze. So Naruto-kun, you do have the eyes of your mother, Orochimaru praised, looking sickly satisfied. But yet, even with all of your sudden progress, you're still behind Sasuke. The prodigy of the Uchiha has mastered his Sharingan, yet you just unlocked yours. Naruto's body language gave nothing away, wearing a perfect poker face. I've got one thing that Sasuke doesn't though. And what is that? Orochimaru asked, still smirking arrogantly. It didn't matter that Naruto hadn't seen Sasuke in 2 months, Naruto was confident that Kakashi had yet to teach Sasuke this. Naruto did one hand sign, before disappearing. In the next moment, his fist crashed into the blind side of Orochimaru's head. I learned how to Shushin, Naruto said from behind Orochimaru, before disappearing again. Amaya Gungaku. Naruto's voice was behind him, making Orochimaru turn around. Naruto's foot collided with Orochimaru's chin, snapping the Sanin's head backwards. Orochimaru put his hands on the ground and pushed himself up to his feet, his eyes darting around. He smirked, and ducked under the blow from behind in time this time, letting Naruto throw a flurry of blows at him to gauge how fast he could actually move. Much faster than before, more precise. His blows still lack Sasuke's raw strength with his own Sharingan active, yet they are much faster. Still, maybe going at around a fifth of my power will suffice. Orochimaru swung his hand experimentally at Naruto, testing how he reacted with his new eyes. He was unsurprising when Naruto brushed the blow away, continuing his unsuccessful onslaught of punches. His defense is as expected of someone with the Sharingan. The only true alterations are his movements as of yet, though he hasn't used any jutsus since awakening his eyes. Orochimaru thought, his defenses beginning to wane. Naruto finally landed a blow on Orochimaru's face, but it did little damage. In fact, all it did was scrape Naruto's knuckle, as if he hit a rock instead of a skull. Orochimaru grinned, and kneed Naruto in the gut, then uppercutting the boy backwards. The snake Sannin added more force than he meant on the two blows, feeling Naruto's ribcage and nose break on impact from them both. Orochimaru mentally shrugged at his error, noting that it didn't kill the boy, just injured him more than he meant to. After all, toying around with his opponent wouldn't be fun if they fell unconscious after only a few minutes of battle. Naruto got to his feet, wiping the blood from his nose away with his arm, before getting back in his stance for more. I will not die like this, I will not let this bastard beat me, Naruto pledged in his head. Let's see just how many of these clones I can make. Tajikage Bunshin no Jutsu, Naruto shouted, summoning forth as many clones as he could muster. Even Orochimaru was a little surprised. This was not a dozen, not 50, not even 100. There had to be over 5,000 clones, all with Sharingan eyes and able to move faster than ever before. Okay, this is ridiculous, Orochimaru decided, his eyes darting around. What is giving this boy so much chakra? The real Naruto was on his knees, panting. He was far in the back, hidden from Orochimaru's sight. But he was tired, he had never summoned anywhere near that many clones at once before. On top of that, a rib might have punctured a lung from Orochimaru's earlier attack. And to think this guy isn't even trying, Naruto thought in slight amazement. I can't beat him, but I can stall him for Itachi-sensei to finish off, I hope. Orochimaru grinned, and just lifted his arms to launch snakes at the clones like rapid fire. Each reptile had a foot-long sword coming from its mouth, impaling the clones in various locations. Once they were in arm's length, however, Orochimaru made quick work of the rest of the army. However, once again, Naruto managed to surprise him. As Orochimaru took out the last clone, which he thought was the real one, Naruto did a series of hand signs and muttered the name under his breath. Futon, Shinkajouka no Jutsu. The attack hit Orochimaru right in the chest, knocking him back and smacking him into the outside wall of the inn of the town. Orochimaru shook himself of a momentary dizzy spell, and just had enough time to react to the fist about to knock him into next week. Damn, Naruto thought, his fist smashing through the wall behind Orochimaru's head like it was made of paper. Orochimaru jabbed him in the stomach again, before elbowing Naruto in the back of his neck, sending him onto all fours. However, before Orochimaru could try to finish him off, Naruto pushed himself up into the air and spun around, extending his leg and shouting, "Eat this!" Orochimaru ate it alright, a foot hitting him right in the chin and smashing his head right through the wood. Naruto landed on his feet, punching Orochimaru in the sternum with all of his might, launching him straight through the inn and sending him into the forest behind it. The Jinchuriki chased after him, feeling his confidence beginning to rise. However, as soon as it hit a ceiling, it dropped dead to the floor. Naruto extended his fist to hit Orochimaru's face, but the Sannin simply leaned to the side to let Naruto stumble past him. Naruto bent over trying to stop himself, and he was giving a kick to the side of the head, smashing him into the ground hard enough to see stars. He tried to get up, but Orochimaru's foot stomped down on his chest, making him wince. The Sannin stared down at Naruto with an unreadable expression, before he broke out in a grin. "We'll be in touch, Naruto-kun. Try not to die anytime soon, I have plans for you." Orochimaru brought his foot down on Naruto's face, and he fell into a sea of black. Konoha, November 2nd. Begin, Sasuke, Kakashi said, his arms crossed as he watched his students. They were in training ground 7, having been there since early morning. The afternoon sun was still not getting any warmer, Sasuke being able to see his own breath. Since Naruto's death 2 months ago, Kakashi absolutely refused to let Team 7 have anything above AD rank, mostly because of how that simple C rank turned into an A rank. However, he absolutely refused to rein in their relentless training, especially with Sasuke. When he not training Team 7 or tutoring Sasuke, Kakashi was out taking solo missions to sharpen his skills. He still had yet to really teach much of anything to Sakura, the girl simply not suited to fight as he did. Where he focused on ninjutsu, Sakura lacked the reserves to use half the moves that he wanted to teach her. Fortunately, Sakura had taken to learning medical ninjutsu, believing that if she could have healed either Sasuke or Kakashi, it might have made a difference on the bridge. Even though there was only one person that died, that person was her teammate, and her friend. It hurt, especially since she was just starting to see Naruto was more than just a nuisance. Sasuke, however, took a different route. If Kakashi was being careless with how hard he was going, then Sasuke was being downright reckless. Every waking moment, he spent his time training. Whether that was working out kinks in his taijutsu or perfecting his arsenal of ninjutsu, he did it constantly. His Sharingan made copying the maneuvers easier, but Kakashi wanted him to have to put in some form of work and showed him the weakest possible version of every move he taught him. Which to this point, had only been one move. He was afraid to do more than that, because if Sasuke did a single thing wrong with the weaker version of the attack, the best he could hope for would be a broken arm. Imagine the repercussions of screwing up the powered-up version. Chidori! Sasuke cried, thrusting a lightning-covered hand through a wooden dummy, leaving a small hole in the center. Damn it! The last Uchiha loyal to Konoha swore in his head before speaking aloud, albeit in a quiet tone mostly to himself. Still not good enough. It's getting better, Sasuke. Kakashi encouraged, setting up a new target. You just need to keep practicing. I don't want to practice, I want to hit someone. Sasuke snapped, glancing at Kakashi with onyx eyes. I have 2 months of pent-up aggression that I have to take out on stuff that can't even hit me back. How will we be prepared for the Chunin exams if we can't even do a mission that requires us to actually fight? Kakashi frowned beneath his mask. Where did Sasuke even hear about them from? He wasn't planning on even telling Team 7 of the impending test yet, because he didn't think they were ready. The exams this time strictly need 3 members on a team in order to participate. 2-man cells are not allowed. Not a lie, just not the truth either. It was recommended for cells of 3, but not enforced. Oh well. Team 8 is already signed on to participate, and Team 10 is probably going to follow suit. Sasuke grumbled, going through hand signs again. And you think they're going to be good enough to win? Kakashi asked in a dry voice, his lone visible eyebrow raised. Of course, he knew Sasuke was within shouting distance of being the best genin in all of Konoha at this point, but he wouldn't say that out loud in front of his pupil. He already had some ego issues, it would only hurt him to swell his head more. Right now? Probably not. Sasuke admitted, another good sign. But in a month, I will be Chidori. Sasuke slid his arm out, beads of sweat rolling down his face as he continued his statement. Sakura should be good enough to get promoted as well. I doubt it again. Kakashi ordered, to which Sasuke nodded after a moment to catch his breath. Team 7 already has to be on top of their game with a missing member. The thought that both of you will get promoted is a dream. We don't need another teammate, we already have one. Sasuke said, his voice icy. You backed me up on this when they tried to give us a new member. The only person we'd accept back on Team 7 is Do. Actually, I'm the only reason that you don't have a new teammate. Kakashi said blankly. Your opinion didn't matter to them. The only reason they didn't is because I told them they would only find half of the body. Half? Sasuke raised an eyebrow. Half. Now, do the Chidori again. Sasuke went through the hand seals quickly, and cried out a third Chidori, before stabbing the third target. This time, he wasn't so quick about pulling his arm out, and when he finally did so, he fell down to his hands and knees, sweat dripping off his forehead and hair. Looks like 3 is still my limit. Sasuke panted to himself, though out of the corner of his eyes he saw Kakashi setting up another dummy. Again. Kakashi ordered, lightly kicking Sasuke's shoulder to get the boy up. You say that you're the best genin in Konoha, so get up and prove it. Prove to me you deserve to go to the Chunin exams. Sasuke tried to get up but fell back down. I can't, Sasuke panted heavily, barely even able to lift his head to look at Kakashi. I'm out of chakra. If I ever hear you say the words I can't again, I'll give you the worst beating of your life. Kakashi said, his tone turning harsh and cold. Sasuke lifted his head to look at his sensei, a little alarmed at the sudden change of attitude. Get the hell up and do it again. Sasuke maintained his stare at Kakashi for a few more moments, before struggling back up to his feet. He took a deep breath and went through hand seals at a much slower pace than before. Kakashi watched wordlessly, not giving Sasuke any advice. He wouldn't let Sasuke give himself a ceiling under any circumstance. The Uchiha managed to gather enough chakra to form the move, but thanks to his exhaustion he couldn't hold it, and it exploded in his face. He fell limply to the ground face first. What are you doing? Kakashi asked, his tone still harsh but not quite as much as before. I told you to do it again. I tried, Sasuke said, his voice muffled on the ground. He couldn't even move right now. Trying isn't good enough. Kakashi couldn't believe this. He relented a sigh and shook his head. And you are the latest prodigy to date. If you were 10 years older, you'd be considered mediocre at best. The harsh truth went in one ear and out the other for the Uchiha, a fact that did not go unnoticed by Kakashi. We'll continue this tomorrow, Kakashi said, disappearing in a poof of smoke. Fucking drill sergeant. Sasuke mumbled, falling asleep exactly where he was laying. Ino sighed dejectedly as her team was being forced to take the bell test again. This time they only fared slightly better, because they actually knew the point of the test from the beginning. Slight because instead of whipping their ass in 10 minutes, they lasted 11. Choji had a broken leg, so their big hitter was out of commission. They were currently playing the duck and run tactic, having hidden from Asuma for the last hour. It got to the point they were all hiding at the top of a tree, the leaves that had yet to fall hiding them. Aren't you guys trying to convince me to sign you all up for the Chunin exams? Asuma called out, walking through the forest of Team 10's training ground. You're not doing a good job, you know. I still say my plan would have worked. Ino grumbled. Choji could have distracted him. Shika can just use his shadow to hold Asuma-sensei and I can. It wouldn't have worked, Ino. Choji can't keep up with Asuma's speed, I can't overpower him, and if you miss you're left wide open to an attack. Shikamaru sighed lazily. This is such a drag, why can't we just throw in the towel so I can go home and get some sleep? I swear to Kami Shikamaru, Ino smacked him lightly in the back of the head. You say my plans suck and won't come up with one better. That's because I already did. Shikamaru shrugged. Your plan is a good one, just needed a little shifting around with Choji's busted leg. You and I play the distraction, since we're faster than Choji and Asuma can't knock us both out at once, which would let Choji get him from behind, and we pray that Asuma is having an off day. Cute plan, might have worked too if I didn't hear it. Shikamaru's face turned chalky and he looked beside him. Asuma was leisurely lounging at the end of the branch, a cigarette dangling from his mouth. He smiled lightly and gave them a good-natured wave. Ah. 30 minutes later. Team 10 was all sitting on the ground with their legs crossed, scowls on their faces. Large bumps were on top of their heads, almost glistening in the afternoon sun. You kids are getting better, but still I'm not convinced, Asuma said, scratching his beard honestly. The cigarette was nearing the end of its lifespan, barely any tobacco left over the filter. None of you lack the talent to take part in the Chunin exams, but you each lack the mindset of a Chunin. Ino shot a look at Shikamaru. He was the reason they didn't see Asuma coming, at least from her perspective. Not all of us, if Shika wasn't so lazy weed. All of you, Ino. All of you lack the mindset of someone who will be asked to lead squads, take solo missions, and not be babied any longer. You are still too spoiled, too used to things going your way. You also tend to blame others instead of taking responsibility for the team. Ino deflated, looking away from Shikamaru and towards the ground. However, you are not entirely wrong, Asuma admitted, turning his attention to the Nara clan heir. Shikamaru, you're unmotivated to accomplish anything above mediocrity in life, and that is dragging the entire team down there with you. The other two want more out of their careers than this, you know. Shikamaru looked away, frowning. He knew they wanted to excel, but was he really dragging them down? And Choji, you're too nice. Asuma smiled in amusement, because that wasn't something he thought he would say was a fault in a ninja before today. You lack the backbone to beat someone when they deserve it, which can be seen as the morally good thing. But when the chips are down, and your teammates need you to be angry and want to hurt their enemy, you failed to do so. Sorry, Asuma-sensei. Choji mumbled. Before Asuma could continue, Shikamaru felt the need to speak up, a rare occurrence for him. To be fair though, they are still a month away, he pointed out. And that's just the date we have to leave to get there on time. The actual test is December 10th, which still give us a little more time to grow up more. And get stronger. Ino added in agreement. And eat more food. Not helping Choji. But still. Give us another shot, sensei, one we actually stand a chance in. Ino pleaded. She knew they were good enough to make it, and damn it, she wanted that promotion. I've seen enough, Asuma said bluntly, putting out his cigarette. He took a deep breath, as if purposely drawing it out for dramatic effect. I already signed you guys up. Cue crickets chirping. What? Asuma chuckled to himself, rubbing his neck. Honestly, why hadn't anyone told him how much fun it was messing with his genin squad? Over the last 5 months, he had seen some of the most hilarious things thanks to their blunders, much to their annoyance. The day you guys can beat me is the day I retire. You weren't supposed to win, no teams won either the first try or the retake. Asuma explained. It was protocol, we had to measure your growth. You guys are going to the Chunin exams in a month, so congratulations. Team 10's joyous shouts were heard clear across the village. November 2nd, night time. Naruto groaned, opening his eyes and finding himself staring up at a familiar ceiling once again. Damn, what hit me? He thought in pain, rubbing his head in an attempt to make the splitting headache fade away. It feels like I just got kicked in the face by a donkey twice. That's to be expected, facing Orochimaru. Itachi's voice spoke up next to him. Naruto looked over at him. Welcome back to the land of the living Naruto-kun. Itachi greeted, a plate of sushi in front of him. There was a bowl of miso ramen on the nightstand next to him. However, before Naruto could do anything, he remembered the tragedy that just occurred due to his negligence. Those villagers. Itachi said nothing, because there was nothing he could say to make Naruto feel better. It might not have been Naruto's fault that people died in the crossfire of his battle, but he certainly had an opportunity to prevent it. He just wasn't strong enough. You've unlocked your eyes. The Raven Summoner noted, looking at the boy's eyes shining unnaturally bright in the dim lighting. 2 commas appeared across each other, his eye brightening to reflect the color of a midday sky instead of a sapphire. I got them when Orochimaru killed a kid and his mother, Naruto said, clenching his fist until his knuckles turned white. Itachi's brow furrowed. Naruto didn't know the boy, yet that awoke his eyes? It was plausible, Sasuke only achieved them to save someone's life, so failing to do so might do the same. All that training was useless, I'm no better than I was 2 months ago. Damn it! Naruto shouted in frustration while he hit the wall next to him, denting the plaster. I wasn't strong enough to make the guy flinch. Naruto, calm down. Itachi ordered. Yes, you lost that fight, but in all honesty it was expected. As far as you've come, you're still not an S-rank shinobi. And right now, I need you to focus on something else. Naruto breathed deeply, nodding in understanding. Focus your chakra through your eyes, you should be able to do this to turn them on and off. Naruto blinked, finding that it took a moment, but he could. The normal blue shade reappeared, and the 2 commas disappeared. Can you still see? Itachi asked, slightly worried. Yeah, not as well though. Naruto muttered, still clearly upset with himself at losing. Naruto, your training has helped you jump leaps and bounds, Itachi said, understanding his frustration. 2 months ago, you would have been killed 5 seconds flat against a skilled Chunin that took you seriously. The fact that you can say you went toe-to-toe with Orochimaru of the Sannin and lived is not only impressive, but astonishing. I'm proud of you, Naruto. You've grown so much more powerful in these 2 months than the dying boy I fished out of a river. You're practically destined for greatness, but you must work hard in everything you do to earn it. Naruto looked up at the man, never hearing such praise about him in his life. You really think so, Itachi-sensei? A few days to let your injuries heal, then a few more to learn how to use your Sharingan's full capacity, and I promise, you would be ready for your exam in 3 months' time. Itachi promised. You'll be delayed a week at the most. And by the end of that week, I'd be home? Where would you be? Itachi relented a sigh. Oh, he knew what he was about to do, and it was so outrageous that it might as well have been considered suicide. Tying up loose ends. Orochimaru was staring out the window in his office, watching as countless people continued to build the village. They were members of his partner's clan. His partner was still out and about, taking an elite squad with him to go and gather samples for Orochimaru. But that was not what was on the Snake Nin's mind. No, he was thinking about the potential power that Naruto could possess, how it was just absolutely ridiculous how his pedigree made him seem like his potential had no ceiling. No wonder the Jinchuriki of the world are feared, he mused, his reflection staring back at him through the glass. There was a knock on the door, and Orochimaru glanced back at it once before he spoke with his back turned. Enter. The door clicked open, and in stepped a woman with fair skin and dark eyes, her light blue hair and a spiky ponytail with long strands of hair framing her face. Her outfit consists of a green dress with a long left sleeve and a short right one, a red turtleneck which has a white, fluffy collar, and brown gloves. Under the dress, she was wearing a one-piece red suit. For shoes, she wore calf-length brown sandal boots. You're late, Gyurin, Orochimaru said, his back still turned. Still, it is good that you showed up when you did. I need someone to be my eyes during the Chunin exams this time around, and act as the sensei of the team we are sending in. What about our insider? And what team? Gyurin asked, wanting him to elaborate further. Orochimaru was unusually happy, which struck Gyurin as odd. He will participate to scout out potential in the genin crop this year, but I need someone to do the same for some of the higher-ups. Orochimaru explained. The exams are taking place in Kumogikyo this year, and I want to put a little display of force. That, and I want to see if the relationship between Suna and Konoha has degraded further. Hi. Besides, our insider will have his eyes on Team 7 for me. His objectives will be different from your own. Gyurin had heard of the team. Orochimaru spoke very highly of Uchiha Sasuke's potential and Hatake Kakashi's prowess. However, Team 7 was missing a member and had yet to sign up, at least to her knowledge. Still, she was smart enough to not say anything on that. When Orochimaru tells you to do something, you better make damn sure to do it. Have you ever seen a Jinchuriki up close, Gyurin? Orochimaru asked, a strange change of topic in her mind. So strange, so powerful. What? The change of topic was unexpected to her, though Orochimaru was behaving erratically for some reason. Almost twitchy. Oh yes. Your unasked question, Orochimaru said, smiling in a disturbing fashion. The missing member of Team 7 should be back in Konoha by the end of the week. I've already tested him. Team 7 will be in the Chunin exams, and something tells me they'll go far into it. Orochimaru added in jollily. Okay, Gyurin was a little more than concerned with Orochimaru's mental well-being right now. The man was far too jolly for her taste. She preferred it when the man was forcing people to fight to the death or torturing some poor soul, not when he seemed like he was on the rush of 10 cups of coffee and about to tap dance. Okay? No, it's better than okay, Orochimaru laughed. It's perfect. If you say so. Gyurin shrugged. When am I meeting this team that I'm supposed to be leading? As soon as she asked, there was a knock on the door. Gyurin glanced back, while Orochimaru turned around to face her and called out, "Enter." In stepped 3 14-year-old kids. The first was a boy that had spiky, dark hair and dark eyes. He wore a dark yellow shirt with 2 black stripes and 3 prints of the kanji for death down the front. His forehead protector came down to wrap around his head like a helmet. This was Zaku. The second was a girl that had very long black hair, almost reaching down to the ground, tied by a violet ribbon right near the end, and black eyes. She wore a forehead protector, a pale green vest somewhat similar to a flak jacket, and snake-patterned pants and a scarf with black spots. This was Kin. The third, and obviously the leader of the trio, he had bandages covering most of his face, leaving only his left eye uncovered. He also wore a large poncho with long sleeves, a patterned scarf around his neck, a mass of straw protruding from the back of his scarf, and a large amplifier on his right arm for most of his attacks. His back was hunched, which made him look smaller than he actually was. This was Dosu. Meet your team, Gyurin, Orochimaru said, using his hand to gesture to the 3 children. I want you to train them for the next month, before taking them to the exam. Wait, this chick is our new sensei? Zaku asked, giving her a once-over. She's kinda hot. This chick will knit a sweater from your intestines. Gyurin glowered at the boy, a kunai of crystal forming in her hand in a threatening manner. Knock it off, Zaku, Dosa ordered. She's in charge of training us, don't make this hard on all of us. Gyurin glanced at him, but said nothing. She turned on her heels and said, alright brats, let's go. Team Dosa glanced at Orochimaru, who gave a smirk and waved them off. They turned around and followed their new sensei, eager to get stronger. Kisame was kneeling in front of Pain, who looked down at him impassively. Samahata was strapped to his back, pressed against a bandage beneath his Akatsuki cloak. The Fox Jinchuriki got away. Pain's observation was on point, though Kisame said nothing of the sort yet. How could he have escaped from a Sannin and yourself, Kisame? Please explain. You're asking the wrong person. Kisame grunted, his eyes on the ground. While I fought Itachi, Orochimaru was the one that fought the boy leader Sama. Pain looked down at the monster of the mist for a moment, before he turned his head and attention to the vast city before him. I should have known Orochimaru would pull this, he thought, noticing the Masega hawk coming to him, bearing an Otogekure insignia. It landed on his outstretched arm, and he unrolled the message on it, reading it silently. It does not matter. Pain waved off, his face still blank. We got what we needed today. Kisame was confused by that. He was under the impression that they wanted to take the fox to jumpstart their mission and make it easier down the road. They still needed funds. It will take 3 years to build up the amount needed. But still, if they could have taken the Kyuubi, they would have been able to avoid Konoha altogether, assuring their success. What was on that message that made Pain change his plans? Orochimaru has delivered to us a report on his abilities. It's safe to say that even with 2 months away from his team, they will be participating in the exams. Pain stated, walking towards the open window. This could work out for our favor. Huh? Kisame was confused. Was Pain even talking to him at this point? Do not worry yourself over this, Kisame. It was best for all of us that he got away. Pain said with his back turned, a streak of lightning flashing through the skies. Go to Otogekure and deliver a message for me, Kisame. To Orochimaru? Kisame asked. He wasn't complaining, but didn't they have messenger hawks of their own? Oh wait, Itachi's ravens did that. Yes. Tell him to order his spy to watch Uzumaki's progress. Pain ordered. And to keep me informed. Hi, Leader Sama. Kisame bowed his head before standing up. He walked towards the door, not speaking the thoughts in his head. Though Orochimaru probably already did that first part. November 8th, early morning. A week passed by relatively slow for Naruto, mostly due to being forced to spend half the week on bed rest. Once he was able to move, Itachi made him jump right into how to use his Sharingan, giving him pointers and sparring with him to help Naruto train it. And while he was perfectly healed, he was still sore from the fight he had with Orochimaru a little over a week ago. He didn't know it then, but he used all of his reserves in making the army of clones to fight against Orochimaru, which forced the fox had to lend Naruto more power than normal to survive. To which Itachi nearly strangled him over while screaming, "Why the fuck didn't you run away?" at him for over an hour. Could you really blame Naruto though? Training tirelessly for 2 months straight, and you have an opportunity to see how far you grow, against a Sannin. Why exactly would Naruto want to run and hide for Itachi to save him, when he could very well at least try to fight himself? Aside from the fact that Orochimaru very easily could have snapped his neck, or ruptured his spine, or break his spine, or just flat out kill him. Itachi explained to Naruto the pitfalls of relying in the Kyuubi's power like that, such as when he did so summoning the army of clones. The Bija are chakra monsters, Naruto-kun. They are like an endless supply of chakra, but you, Itachi poked Naruto in the forehead, are not. You have to know your limits, and instead of trying to kill yourself to break through them, work on it slowly. You can summon hundreds of clones at a time, but 5,000? Even a Bija would be winded for trying that. Build your control up before you do something that reckless. Naruto frowned at that. But I still managed to pull it off. You managed to do it while depleting the entirety of your reserves, which would have killed anyone else if they did it. Itachi glared half-heartedly at Naruto to get his point across. Anyone. Naruto took the time to let the words digest, and for Itachi to finish. And to make matters worse, it wasn't enough and you used some of the fox's chakra, hence why you're still sore. If the fox wasn't inside you healing you almost at all times, you would be dead from chakra depletion, or at the very least your chakra pathways would be ruptured permanently. The most you're ever going to summon is roughly 1,000, never use such an extreme again. Naruto's jaw clenched, but he nodded stiffly. Hi, Itachi-sensei. I'll remember that. Now, Naruto was not happy with anyone setting a limit on him, but he understood that the possibility of death was the alternative. He decided to listen to Itachi on his bit of advice, and not rely so much on his clones in combat. As for where they were at the moment, Itachi and Naruto were less than a mile outside the village of Konohakure, and were saying their farewells. It was kind of weird for Naruto. 2 months ago the only thing Naruto thought about Itachi was that the man was bats-hit insane, as well as insanely powerful. Now though, Naruto knew that he was a peaceful, kind, and awesome shinobi that just did extremely bad things. He should have hated Itachi, or maybe respected him for his power. Hell, he should have feared him, he was supposed to be a cold-blooded murderer after all. But instead Naruto looked up to him. Itachi was the first true Jonin-level ninja that taught him, as Kakashi was never given the chance to do it. Under Itachi's eye, Naruto learned a lot, more than enough to prove that Naruto was not the dead last he was in the academy. With all this, Naruto was half tempted to ask if he could stay with him longer. But he couldn't. It wasn't because he was scared, not because he was nervous, but because being so close to home yet kept away from it made him grow homesick. Being within running distance of his friends, yet kept away to grow stronger just sounded painful, and after 2 months of it, he wasn't entirely sure he would be doing it again. Sure, he disliked the villagers, but he was hoping that some time away from them lessened their hate for him. After all, time was supposed to heal all wounds. One would hope. I guess this is goodbye, huh, sensei? Naruto asked. Itachi gave a ghost of a smile. Over the last few months, he had grown to like him per se. He was eager to learn anything Itachi wanted to teach him. That mindset was going to take him far in life if he kept it. I believe so, Naruto. Naruto grinned, putting his hands behind his head and chuckling merrily. You better be watching the Chunin exams, Itachi-sensei. Because I'm going to win the whole thing. I guarantee it. Itachi's smile broadened. A lofty goal for someone who isn't even back home yet. Naruto's hands fell down to the side as he started jumping up and down in anticipation and excitement. You watch, sensei. I promise that I'll beat anyone they put in my way, and Team 7 will be the last team standing. Itachi shook his head, not in a condescending manner, but in one of humor. He ruffled Naruto's hair before he said, Stay safe, Naruto-kun. Itachi turned on his heel and began down the road away from Konoha. You too, Itachi-sensei. Naruto called back, before leaping through the trees and sprinting to his home. He ran like a whirlwind, the forestry and grassland passing him like blurs as he jumped from branch to branch on the thick trees of the End of Fire. The birds' songs came and went, and before long he had arrived at the village hidden in the leaves, and once he did, he immediately went to the registration booth to sign himself in at the registration booth. The 2 gate guards were not the usual pair, this time being 2 unimportant Chunin that seemed to hate Naruto with every fiber of their being. Upon signing his ninja number and his name, he handed it to the guard, who inspecting it. The guard sighed in annoyance. Nice try, kid, should have done that prank a few months ago. Naruto rolled his eyes. Honestly, who would be that big of a to pretend they were him while he was thought to be dead? It's not a prank, how else would I know my ninja number? At the familiar sound of Naruto's voice, the guard looked up lazily. He was expecting it to be some horrid disguise, but to his surprise he was staring right into the face of the 13-year-old, though he did have that horrid scar running horizontally under his eye like a 4th whisker. How you're alive? The guard sounded more than a little disappointed, but he at least had the decency to try to hide it. He was a shinobi of Konoha, and though he disliked Naruto, having him back would be a deterrent against other nations. Naruto bit back a sarcastic response, and just nodded. Yeah, alive and in one piece. As he spoke, he beat his chest. Ain't nothing killing me before I become Hokage. His first instinct was the false act of overconfidence, a familiar mask that Naruto could slip on with ease. And though outside he kept the natural facade of confidence, inside his gut was churning. Naruto should have expected such a welcome. He wasn't well liked before he left, and it wasn't like anything had changed since then. He should have known nothing would change. The guard sighed as he wrote some things down, practically radiating disappointment. He sent Naruto on his way, not bothering to watch him leave. Naruto stuffed his hands in his pockets and walked off, clenching his fists inside his pockets. Of course, the first place he was going was the Hokage Tower to report to the Hokage, protocol for a shinobi that's been missing for a few months. And the further he walked, the more he remembered how much the people hated him. He felt all the terrified stares, he heard the disgusted whispered, and he felt the insults. Fox brat. Demon punk. Murderer. Bastard. He frowned sourly, not knowing who was saying what. He did his best to ignore it as he continued to walk, the thought coming only once before he shoved it to the back of his mind. Maybe I shouldn't have came back. After all, this was almost ridiculous. People he didn't even know were glaring at him, stores were actually closing up as he passed, even the parents were pulling their kids closer to them protectively. Damn, thought that punk was killed or something, a woman's voice said to Naruto's left. He grimaced slightly, while to his right he heard an old man mumble, I hope the scar hurt, demon brat. Naruto clenched his fist inside his pockets and took a deep breath, but he kept walking as he always did. I definitely didn't miss this, he thought grimly. Normally, he would shrug it off. He didn't care what they thought of him, he never has. But now he wasn't used to this. He was used to being able to go somewhere without someone cursing his very existence. Now he knew that outside of Konoha's giant walls, it was different. The people were nicer, never insulting him unless he did something stupid such as stubbing his toe on the corner, and they just muttered under their breath "dumbass," or something along those lines. Stores didn't jack the prices up as soon as he walked through the door, letting him pay what everyone had to. Or as of more currently, close up shop at the mere sight of him. Parents didn't keep their children away from him out of spite and fear. The stranger danger rules still applied, but they didn't physically keep their kids away from him. What made it sting more was that for so long this place, for all of its faults, it was his home. Now, he knew the peace he could find, he knew the happiness he felt outside. Out there in the rest of the world, he was a nobody. No one knew him for something that wasn't his fault, and no one even cared about him enough to hate him. He was normal out there. And he liked the feeling. It was certainly better than Konoha, a cesspool of hate reserved just for him. One where people did everything they could to bring him down, force him down to the point of contemplating suicide as a means to an end. They couldn't actually touch him, he didn't know because they were afraid or if they were smart enough to know that, but they still tried everything they could to make his life worse than hell. And thinking on all of this, it made him reconsider coming back. Team 10 was at their usual meeting place in the mornings, the barbecue place down the street from Ichiraku Ramen. Choji and Asuma had claimed the outside seats, which trapped Shikamaru and Ino on the inside of the booth. Currently, Choji was piling on as much bacon as he could onto the grill to the angst of Asuma, who was looking out for both his students and his wallet's health. Shikamaru was snoozing with his head laid down on the table, snoring softly. Ino was lost in thought, looking out the window. It became sort of a habit of hers, to lose herself in her thoughts. But that didn't make her unobservant. She watched the hundreds of people walking by the window, though something managed to catch her eye. Orange. It was like a beacon to say, "Hey, look at me," compared to the more natural colors that the villagers wore, but it actually seemed to be more of a desperate grab for attention than any of the other bright colors. Coincidence? I think not. I told you guys he wasn't dead. Ino stood up abruptly, an angry look on her face. Move, Choji, I need to go kick that baka's ass. She knocked down a glass, a noise which made the Nara air across from her jump. Wait, what's going on? Why is Ino breaking things? Choji was scooting out of her way, though it was taking longer than it should have because he was making sure the bacon remained perfectly intact. Shikamaru groaned and mumbled sleepily, "What's got her panties in a bunch?" I don't know, Ino just said something about kicking someone's ass. Damn right. Ino stomped towards the front door of the store. Oh god, did Sakura do something to Sasuke? Shikamaru groaned again, lifting up his head and beginning to slip out of the booth. Asuma letting him slip by a lot quicker than Choji to chase after her with the Akimichi. How should I know? Choji retorted, waving goodbye to Asuma. I'll be back for that bacon. Shikamaru saw someone wearing bright orange, and said who the hell would wear that bright-ass orange, oh? Ino got to him first, but Shikamaru was the one who spoke first. Naruto, run! Before Ino could hit him, Naruto turned around to look at the Nara that shouted, and she stopped right in her track. The scar on his face was not something any of them expected to see on his face. Team 10 couldn't help themselves and stared at his eye, though they looked away after a few seconds. It was the first time any of them had seen a battle wound on someone their age. Damn man, Shikamaru muttered under his breath. I call it the fourth whisker. Brings out my eyes, no? Naruto joked lamely, giving a small smile to ease the sudden tension. He wasn't going to ask why they were yelling at him to run, and instead continued on to greet Team 10. Hey Choji, hey Shika, hey Ino. How's it going? Before either Choji or Shikamaru could speak, Ino remembered she was about to beat Naruto half to death. You baka, where the hell have you been for 2 months? People thought you died and you come home and act like nothing happened. Naruto rubbed his neck sheepishly. He wasn't expecting to leave such a mark on much of anything around in Konoha. I was trying to find out about my family since no one knew anything around here. I figured I could ask around elsewhere before I made it back home. I didn't think people would care that I was gone, sorry. Ino was taken aback by that response, as was the rest of Team 10. It was hard for them to remember that Naruto never had anyone that cared about him, growing up in families full of cousins and uncles and the whole works. Naruto, however, was inwardly fist-pumping at his quick thinking. It wasn't a lie, he did ask Itachi a lot about his parents, it just wasn't the only thing he was doing. I was also training though, he added quickly. I met new people and learned new techniques. Who knows, maybe if my team works on working together, 2 of us'll pass the Chunin exam next month. 2? Sasuke and Sakura? Shikamaru asked sarcastically. Sasuke and me. Naruto deadpanned. No offense to Sakura, but she was utterly useless on the bridge. She did nothing but stare at Sasuke's ass while we were on that bridge, even when the guy was out cold and I had to fight 100 people. She's smart, but this isn't a math test. Naruto explained, ignoring the wide-eyed people in front of him. Don't get me wrong, she's still pretty and all, but still. Ino stared at him, trying to see if that really was the blonde boy. He acted much more mature than before he left. It was surprising. Adding on to the fact he worshipped the very ground Sakura walked on, now here he was, practically insulting her, even though he complimented her after. Really, Naruto? The Akimichi clan heir shook his head. For a second, I thought you moved on. Such a shame. Shikamaru nodded in agreement and said so, still got the hots for her, huh? Naruto fidgeted awkwardly, scratching the back of his neck and laughing nervously. Wording it like that is a little off. I mean, I like her, but not like I used to. So, then who do you got the hots for then? Shikamaru asked with a sly smile. Naruto's uncomfortable shuffle didn't go unnoticed. Shikamaru nudged Naruto jokingly, while Choji added, come on Naruto, tell us. To Ino, it was a little funny watching Naruto squirm like this. The boy usually radiated confidence. Plus, she was curious about it too. Naruto gave a nervous chuckle and tried sidestepping the question. For two guys who seriously don't care about almost a single thing, you're both awfully curious about my life at the moment. You just came back from the dead, of course I'm curious. Shikamaru snorted, getting a nod of agreement from Choji. And stop trying to avoid the question, it isn't like you to be unconfident. I'm hungry, doesn't mean I'm heading straight for Ichiraku's. Naruto replied, not heeding the statement and avoiding the question. Upon seeing the Shikamaru look at him like he was a bald-faced liar, Naruto sighed and said okay, I might have been heading there this time. Shikamaru looked satisfied at that, so Naruto continued. Anyway, the first thing I want to do is go talk to the Hokage, then get back with my team and get to work. I want to be ready for the Chunin exams in 2 months, like all of you guys want to be. Naruto said, coming up with a better distraction from the question. You think you're ready for it? Shikamaru's voice was serious now. You think we are ready for it? As it was already said, Naruto had never had an issue with confidence, but even he knew that he was behind everyone else from their class 5 months ago, and even told the Nara heir that he was a little scared he'd never make it up the ranks as quick as they would. Naruto smiled, and said simply, all of us should be. I don't think you all realize this, but we are the most prominent generation in almost all of Konoha's history. We have 6 clan heirs all from one class that graduated and made it to Genin, 2 entire teams are stocked full of them, and the dead last has some of the darkest demons and horrid powers stuck inside of him. Every one of us will pass that test either this time or the next one in 6 months. I guarantee it. Ino didn't know what he meant by darkest demons and most horrid power, but from his tone it was obvious that the boy did not want to talk about it. Still, her teammates weren't as good at reading tones of voices. What do you mean by darkest demons and horrid powers? Choji asked with a little bit of worry on his face for his friend. Did I actually say that out loud? Naruto asked himself, before he smacked his forehead. Forget I said that, it's not important right now. He muttered, his voice getting quiet. Ino saw the flickering look of unbridled sadness on Naruto's face before the smile returned to his face, something that escaped the notice of her team. And while the smile would have fooled most people, it didn't fool the daughter of one of Konoha's best interrogators. From a young age, Ino learned how to read body and facial expressions, and the look of shattered glass still remained in his eyes. Naruto gave a thumbs up and a forced laugh. I'll see you guys later. With that, Naruto let his arm fall to his side and turned on his heels, and leapt into the air, landing on the rooftops, before sprinting at a speed that they could barely see. Dang, he's gotten fast. Choji sputtered. I thought he was kidding about the training part. Guess he wasn't. Shikamaru nodded in agreement. Look at him, he's like a streak jumping from roof to roof. Ino felt her breath itch, and she was unable to look away. An orange streak. She amended Shikamaru's analogy in her head. He was an orange streak. Hyuga Hinata was sitting against a tree of the park, teammates' usual morning place. Since the day Naruto was announced missing, not only had she grown colder and more stoic, she began wearing her forehead protector on her head instead of around her neck. Her team didn't know what was going on with her, though they assumed it had something to do with Naruto, but in reality, it was more of a family matter. Presently, he was seated next to a stoic Aburame Shino. They were listening to Kiba talk about when Akamaru actually managed to catch his tail, when a distinct orange dart zipped towards the Hokage tower going from roof to roof. Kiba stopped his story as he looked up, seeing just how fast the boy was, yet not being able to recognizing him from so far away. "Hey Kurenai-sensei, who the heck is that guy?" he asked, gawking in the general direction he watched the boy run. The Genjutsu mistress of Konoha squinted, but came up empty. She could literally feel a slight pulse in the air, like a beacon of chakra coming from his direction. "I don't know." She shrugged, seeing Hinata had activated her Byakugan to get a better look. "Hinata, can you see who it is?" "It's Naruto," she said after a moment. Her face was blank, almost as stoic as Shino Aburame's personality. "It would seem that he's not as dead as they claim, sensei." While Akamaru barked from atop the Inuzuka's head, Kiba blinked twice before he squinted at the fading dot that was apparently Uzumaki Naruto. "So, Mr. Deadlast survived, huh?" he grinned and boastfully said. "He must have been trying to get stronger or something so he wasn't so weak, but he's still behind me." In an odd twist, it was Shino that spoke up, something out of character for him. "Kiba-san, did you not see how fast Naruto was running?" he said, mostly because he was getting annoyed by the constant sound of Kiba's voice. "He was moving at a pace faster than anything you've ever done, and he wasn't breaking a sweat." "So?" the Inuzuka heir questioned. "I'd crush him if we fought, like everyone else would," Kiba exclaimed, Akamaru yipping his agreement. "But how would you catch him?" Kurenai asked lightly, wondering how he would react to facing an opponent faster than himself. It seemed like Naruto wasn't even trying to run that fast, yet he was moving at a pace that made Kiba sprinting at top speed seem crippled. Kiba blinked, but found that he couldn't answer. He clenched his fist and looked over at Hinata, who was still staring off in the direction Naruto was running, a small feeling of jealousy gnawing at the back of his mind. "Damn you, Naruto," Kiba thought angrily, seeing the dot disappear off the rooftops near the Hokage tower. "Why couldn't you just stay away? You're not better than me, I'll prove it." Naruto was still berating himself for his previous screw-up around Team 10. Of all the S-rank secrets that he could talk about, he goes with the one that he absolutely doesn't want to talk about. Typical. He didn't want to say anything about the fox or any of the power that wasn't truly his, simple as that. Naruto wasn't far from the Hokage tower when he heard the voice in his head speak up again. "Coward. Afraid to tell your own friends what you are, who you are." "Shut up." Naruto snapped mentally, thinking he was going crazy. "I don't know who you are, but you need to shut up if you're going to live in my head." "Kit, if I could get out of your body, I already would have." The voice sighed before it grumbled. "But as much as I hate to admit, your bastard of a father sealed me in here pretty well." Naruto kept the surprise off his face to keep other people from staring at him funny before responding. "You're the Kyuubi? You're almost I don't know, civil?" The Kyuubi let out a laugh and said in a nasty tone hardly, "I've just gotten bored in this damn prison. And your life is such a hell because of me, I find it humorous." Naruto bristled as he slowed down, coming closer to the Hokage tower. "I also find that the strongest Ju of the 9 got his ass kicked by the 4th Hokage, and is now his son's slave. Pretty damn funny, doesn't mean I'll laugh at you," he spat as a reply. The Kyuubi let out a menacing growl, and said probably because I will rip you to shreds the moment you fall asleep. "Yeah right, you'd kill yourself too, you dumb furball," Naruto shot back challengingly. The fox gave a dark smile behind his cage. "Just wait until you go to sleep tonight, boy. I'll love talking to you face to face." Naruto's blood went cold at that, the chilling tone of voice nearly making Naruto freeze up. He did not like the sound of that, not one bit. While he was confident that the demon couldn't kill him without killing himself, doesn't mean he can't beat the snot out of Naruto for fun. But still, Naruto still wasn't one to act scared, even when he actually was. "Bring it, fox, I'm not scared of you." He heard the fox snort, and he almost face-faulted hearing the fox speak. "Kid, I live inside you. I can say with absolute conviction that you are about to piss your pants. Just remember this though, I can see straight through your facade. I know every little thing about you, every dream, every fear. I witnessed everything you've ever witnessed, heard everything that you've heard. For Kami's sake, every time you stared at Sakura's ass, I had to stare at her ass." Naruto had the decency to blush at that. "In my defense, Sakura has a nice ass." The Kyuubi ignored him, speaking in a haughty tone. "I know that you will fail and you will beg me for me to give you some of my power. Again." Now Naruto flinched. He remembered the power he relied on during Wave, remembering the horrid feeling he had from it. "We'll see, fox. We'll see." He stopped at the entrance of the Hokage tower, and looked up at the Hokage mountain behind it, mainly the 4th Hokage's face. Naruto felt the stone eyes look down at him, judging him. He didn't know if he loved or hated the man now that he thought about it. Sure, he was his dad and he did bring him into this world, but he's the one that trapped the fox inside him. He's the one that cursed his very existence for the sake of the village. He sacrificed his kin for this village. He sacrificed Naruto for this village. But still, he wanted to be what the fourth was. He wanted the respect, the prestige. Then no one would be able to ignore him ever again. Someday, I will become Hokage, and I will make you and Mom proud of what I accomplished. I'll become the greatest shinobi this village has ever seen, surpassing everyone, even you. He pledged, meeting the stony eyes unflinching. Just watch. He looked away, walking straight into the Hokage's tower and ignoring the secretary yelling at him he had to have an appointment. He stopped in front of the Hokage's office, finding the door shut. He knocked once, hearing the familiar but muffled voice of the third Hokage. I'm busy, come back later. Too busy to talk to your future successor? Even when he's been missing for 2 months? Naruto answered with a bit of sarcasm. The door flung open, and Naruto saw the third Hokage going through a large stack of papers with a raised eyebrow towards the door, but he firstly saw a silver-haired Jonin that wore a mask over the bottom of his face. Hey sensei. Naruto smiled. How's the road of life been treating you? Kakashi was about to retort, when he saw Naruto's eye. I almost cost you that. He didn't say that out loud, he was decent enough to have a different line of conversation than that. You've grown, Naruto, you're still short, but not mockingly so. Kakashi said. Gee, thanks. Naruto answered, a little miffed at the reminder that he was still the shortest in his class. Here I was, all proud of myself for eating my fruits and veggies to grow big and strong, and I still get bullied. Thanks, sensei. The third Hokage removed his pipe from his mouth, blowing smoke into the air. He knew that Naruto was still alive, Itachi having informed him within the week Naruto went missing. Well, Kakashi, it would seem that the council can finally rest their case for a new member for your team. Naruto's sweat dropped, his eye twitching. They actually tried to replace me? He asked, not surprised, just annoyed. Kakashi nodded. They did, but I told them all I wouldn't accept another student, so then they pushed to remove me as Sasuke's sensei, and when Sasuke heard about the entire situation from me, he asked when the next meeting was and told them all that if they tried to do anything to screw his team or his sensei, he would burn their houses to the ground. Did I hear that correctly? Sasuke wanted to keep the spot open? Naruto asked incredulously. Kakashi gave an eye smile at his blonde student. Sasuke felt guilty, because even though he risked his life to save you, and originally succeeded, he failed to stop you from falling to your presumed demise on the bridge. You were the closest person Sasuke had to a friend, and he never admitted it, but he missed you. He explained. That, and I think he didn't believe you were dead. Naruto remembered his other teammate, and asked about her well-being. Well, what about Sakura? What has she done in the last 2 months? Medical ninjutsu, since I don't have much to teach her. So far, I've been kept in the dark on her progress. Kakashi sighed, not liking being kept out of the loop with his own team. Don't get me wrong, I'm sure she's improved a lot since the bridge, but until I see what she can do, I can only hope that you've improved, because otherwise Sasuke'll have to wait until at least another 6 months before he can try the exams. Yeah, about that. Naruto cleared his throat. Ji-san, you got a privacy seal on the door or something? Because what I'm about to say might not be for other people or my classmates to hear. Hiruzen looked perplexed for a moment, but he had Kakashi close the door and sealed the room for privacy. Naruto took a deep breath before he spoke. I found out who both my parents are. I know who I am. Uchiha Itachi was at the border to the land of rivers, resting off the side of the road and staring up to the side of the road. The Akatsuki still posed a serious problem. He sighed and laid on his back, his hands resting behind his head. I can't kill them all, almost all of them are nearly as strong or stronger than me, and some like Haiden are nay impossible to kill. And now I not only have to deal with them, but protect Naruto as well as Sasuke from Orochimaru and his new village. Itachi didn't have any idea what Orochimaru's endgame was right now. He could have killed Naruto, nothing would have stopped him. He could have also placed the curse mark on him for either the fox or for Naruto's eyes, but he didn't. He let Naruto go and left without a trace. And according to Kisame, it was strictly business between them and Naruto. Itachi was only in the way, but what did any of that accomplish for either of them? If they wanted to see what Naruto could do, why not wait until the Chunin exams, when he has to openly display it for advancement? Maybe they were being impatient, or maybe it wasn't a planned encounter. Scratch that first one, Itachi had been with them for years. Whoever was leading the organization was by far the most patient man Itachi had come across, or at the very least one of the most calculated. But the second was a possibility. You help us, we help you. Kisame told him that was the relationship with Orochimaru the Akatsuki had. And Orochimaru, while a calculative man, was not very patient. When he wanted something, he made great haste to try and take it. Did that mean Orochimaru wanted to take Naruto's body for his own? No. It can't. Itachi decided. The Sharingan would make him interested, but the fox would prevent him from taking Naruto's body, so it has to be something else. The only question was, what the hell else could it have been that Orochimaru wanted? Itachi's eyes flickered behind him, hearing the bushes behind him rustle. So, you finally showed up, Jiraiya? The Toad Sage walked past Itachi and leaned against a nearby tree, a scowl on his face. So, Itachi, can you elaborate what your cryptic message said for me? The one about tying up loose ends and making peace with yourself. I am going to take out the Akatsuki, Itachi said bluntly. And since I will be dead by the end of the week, you are the one that will likely be training Naruto. Sasuke will be fine on his own, with clan scrolls and Kakashi being sufficient teachers. I can help you fight the Akatsuki, Jiraiya said, his tone serious. No. If anyone is going to die for me, it will just be me, Itachi said, sitting up. I need you to understand something. We don't know about Naruto's Sharingan. Whether it has a Mangekyo or a form similar is unknown. I don't understand why his eyes are so much different than the rest. Even his mother possessed normal Sharingan eyes. Maybe it's the effect of mixing the Namikes and the Uchiha lines, Jiraiya replied. That's what I thought. Itachi rubbed his eyes tiredly. But he refuses to use them. That might not be the best idea, Jiraiya muttered. Did you try to force him to? I did. And instead, it brought out the 9 tails, Itachi answered. The seal is weakening faster than we thought. By the time he's 18, it might have faded away completely, and all that will hold the Kyuubi back is Naruto's will. What's it like? Is his transformation anything like Kushina's? Jiraiya asked. No, it was more like Uzumaki Mido's, Itachi said, getting up to his feet. His blood may be of the Uchiha and Namikaze descent, but his reserves aren't. Jiraiya nodded. It's complicated, and even I don't know the full details. Just train him well. Don't let my clan die out, not the way it is now, Itachi said, his gaze going to the sky. I am the best teacher Konoha has produced, remember? I taught the Yondaime, Jiraiya joked. He didn't really get that. He managed to teach the 4th Hokage, but still the 3rd was a better teacher in his opinion. He made 3 people that became elite, whereas Jiraiya only had Minato to show. Naruto will be better than the Yondaime, Itachi said seriously. A hard worker beats a genius every time, and there is not a soul on this earth that will work harder than Naruto. Ever. It was high praise from Itachi. To say such a thing for a 13-year-old, it was almost as if he was saying that Naruto would bring peace to the world and become the hero of the planet, since the 4th was the closest anyone ever came to claiming it. Itachi cleared his throat and said, you were successful in infiltrating Odogekure? A couple weeks ago. There's a lots of swordsmen, and lots of curse marks, Jiraiya said, not commenting on the change of topic to more business-like. However, it's not exactly a bad place. The kids with curse marks are well fed, clothed, and everyone has a roof over their head. People like it there, and it's almost like Orochimaru is trying to help his people there instead of just himself. You managed to get in and out of Odogekure unseen a month ago, and have been peeping for a month straight. It's called research, Jiraiya shouted indigently. However, he didn't deny it. Since you've been doing research, Itachi put up finger quotations on the word. For the last month, I think that it is high time that you go to Konoha and pick up where I left off with Naruto. Kakashi's handling him, though, Jiraiya said with a frown. He couldn't just up and take Hitaki's student from him again, that would be screwed up. Besides, I am supposed to begin in December with him anyway, between the 2nd and 3rd stage of the exams. Jiraiya spoke as if he already knew Naruto was going to make it to that point, which did not surprise Itachi. After all, the Uchiha expected him to make it all the way to the finals as well. I am worried about Orochimaru, Itachi admitted. No matter how busy he seems to be with his village, he made time to come and attack Naruto. He could have killed him at any point in their encounter, yet Orochimaru chose to play around with him, and even went as far as letting Naruto dictate the terms of the battle. He's planning something. Of course he's planning something, Jiraiya snorted. I've been keeping watch of Odo though, and I'll tell you something. He isn't working alone. Itachi raised an eyebrow at that. Orochimaru always seemed to be more of a solitary man, even while on team missions. Who would he possibly work with, and what would he possibly gain? Someone else is working with him? Itachi asked the most obvious question though, it was the first to come to mind. The Akatsuki aren't enough? Someone powerful. Jiraiya nodded gravely. As if we had enough to worry about, huh? Itachi shook his head and muttered, not to mention Suna's aggression seeming to rise. Yep. So essentially, Itachi pondered how to word the next statement elegantly. It's a giant clusterfuck and we're trapped right in the middle. Well, he tried. Odokure is straight to the north, to the left of Kumo. Rain is the border between Suna, IWA, and us, with Suna is directly to our left and IWA above it. Oh, and then Kiri is over on their islands having a civil war. Jiraiya relented a sigh. It was ridiculous how quickly the tensions were rising. Even Kumo and IWA are having their differences. I wouldn't be surprised if a war was brewing between those two on top of your condition. How much longer are you expected to hold up? Itachi gave a worn smile. I was supposed to drop dead last year. That was why he was never willing to take the mantle of clan heir, even while the clan was still around. He was supposed to die by the time he was 17, the longest he could hope for was 25 years old. Not a long life, but hopefully a fulfilling one. Yet Jiraiya gave a sad smile. Life sucks, doesn't it? It took almost 2 hours, but Naruto explained everything to both his sensei and his leader. In that time, he managed to find himself seated in a chair, along with the silver-haired Jonin that was also present. Kakashi was surprised when he found out that Naruto was a part of the Uchiha clan. Even more surprising, though, was finding out his student not only the son of his own teacher, but was the nephew of his old teammate as well. Then on top of this, he discovered Itachi was the one who was teaching Naruto and almost had a heart attack. You were trained by him? He interrupted, standing up. Are you serious? That man murdered his entire family. Why didn't you run away? Naruto rubbed his neck, not meeting Kakashi's eyes. I wanted to get stronger, he said truthfully. I wanted to know who I was, and he seemed to be the only person that knew that. Besides, he isn't a bad person, he's just done a lot of bad things. Kakashi almost whacked Naruto for that, because that was utterly asinine. Naruto, he killed his entire clan except for Sasuke. And apparently me. Naruto interjected helpfully. In a singular fashion without hesitation. He's a bad person, and there's not a damn thing that will change that. Kakashi finished plainly, looking at Hiruzen for support. Instead, he was given the exact opposite. Kakashi, what I am about to tell the two of you does not leave this room. The third began, packing tobacco into his pipe. Uchiha Itachi, he has always been loyal to the Leaf Village. He was our informant inside the Akatsuki until he found Naruto, and on the night of the massacre he was under orders. You could have heard a pin drop. Naruto, because while he knew Itachi was a good person at heart, he honestly didn't know what to make of him being ordered to kill his family. Being an orphan, Naruto couldn't even imagine the pain he went through going through with it either. But he also didn't understand why Itachi was ordered to do it. I don't understand, Naruto murmured. Kakashi stared at the Hokage and asked the sole question on his mind. Was it Danzo? Hiruzen gave a sigh at Kakashi's question and closed his eyes. No, he said, looking up at the ceiling, clenching his fist on the armrest. It wasn't just Danzo. He was under my orders as well. Kakashi's jaw dropped under his mask. What in the world would make Hiruzen Sarutobi, the third Hokage and one of the kindest men he had ever come across, order an entire family to be massacred by one of their own? The Uchiha clan, Hiruzen cleared his throat before continuing, was plotting a coup d'état. Itachi was sent to stop it by any means necessary. However, in doing this, he became a missing nin. Naruto clenched his teeth, seething, but he did it for the village. He gave everything for this place, and that's how you treat him? Naruto-kun, he murdered his entire family. Hiruzen explained. Yes, it was for our village, but no one knew of the coup. Itachi was willing to take the punishment under the condition that no one aside from myself, the advisors, and Danzo know the truth. The fact that I've told you two is breaking that oath. Naruto was left to ponder that. Itachi was a missing nin because he loved his village more than his family. He loved the village more than everyone aside from his little brother, and this is how the village treats him? He gave his own family to keep the village safe, and his payment was being forced to cut his bonds with it. So then why tell us in the first place? Kakashi asked, speaking on the broken oath. Hiruzen smiled softly. You two had the right to know, being a student under him for a period of time and you taking over the reins from Itachi. However, Itachi told me you battled Orochimaru a little over a week ago, Naruto. Now, he was eager to change the subject. Naruto mellowed out at that. He would talk about his anger later, and he spoke on what the Hokage wanted to. Oh yeah? He kicked my ass. You got in a fight with Orochimaru? Kakashi gave a deadpan stare to Naruto and asked how many kicks to the head have you suffered in your life, Naruto? Itachi informed me that you fared relatively well for someone your age, actually landing multiple attacks. Hiruzen said with a proud smile. Kakashi's eye went as wide as a saucer. The sheer fact that you survived is impressive, Naruto, but to say you actually landed a blow is prodigy level for your age. Yeah, but still he wasn't trying at all. Even at the end of it, he said he wasn't even going over a fifth. Naruto grumbled. Even when I unlocked my eyes, he didn't break a sweat. Hiruzen blinked as he played that last part in his head again. Naruto, you never said anything about unlocking your eyes, he said slowly. Naruto rubbed the back of his neck awkwardly, before muttering oops. Could you show us? Kakashi asked, albeit sounding a little more excited than normal. It wasn't often to see those eyes anymore, aside from himself and Sasuke. Naruto felt uncomfortable on this subject, mostly due to fear that they would see him as a freak. I'd rather not if I could. Naruto muttered. They're not exactly something I can use anyway, being in a village that would think I was playing a sick joke and all, and being a walking reminder of the fox. Naruto cleared his throat. I'd just rather never use them. It's alright, Naruto. I understand, but do know this. Kakashi looked serious as he continued. You can't keep a secret like that from people forever. Eventually, we're all going to see them, and we will all know who you are. Naruto scratched the back of his neck and said jokingly, I know. Hopefully, my fourth whisker can distract people from my eyes long enough so that I don't have to use my eyes. Kakashi smirked, and said maybe so, Naruto, maybe so. Kakashi, Hiruzen finally finished his stack of papers and could now fully re-enter the conversation. We still need to see what he can do, and how much his absence has affected his ability to work with his team. So, I want you to test him later this evening one-on-one, and tomorrow, I want you to give his team the bell test once more. Yes, Hokage-sama, Kakashi answered before returning to look at Naruto. Training ground 7 at 3 o'clock, alright with you, Naruto? Sure thing, sensei. Naruto agreed, standing up. I can't wait to kick you butt. A little overconfident, aren't we? Kakashi asked, raising a brow. Nope. Naruto beamed a smile, before saying, well, I do have other people to go see, and I don't want to keep you guys busy, so see ya. Naruto sprinted down the hall, intent on going to finish his reunions with the rest of his close friends. Training Ground 9 was always full of activity. It was usually in the form of singular training or sparring, but nonetheless, the training ground was constantly full of activity. Today was no different, with Team 9 all actively training under Meito Gai's instruction. Tenten was throwing shuriken at a bullseye painted onto a tree, while her two teammates Lee and Niji engaged in a spar with Gai being the referee. Tenten was a young woman who had a tomboyish demeanor, though she still retained many aspects of the average female. She was tough, and was one of the top kunoichi of her year, hence why she was paired with the top student and the bottom student as is custom. She wears her brown hair in Chinese-style buns on either side of her head with short fringe bangs falling over her forehead protector, which she wears in the traditional manner. She wore a sleeveless pink blouse with red sleeve trimmings and yellow fastening buttons, as well as dark green pants, a pouch adjusted to her thigh, and standard blue ninja sandals. Rock Lee was an athletic and extremely enthusiastic boy of 13 years old, the dead last of their generation. Of course, being the only team that managed to last in the shinobi world, no one aside from his teammate Niji would call him such anymore. He looked almost like a replica of his sensei, having a bowl cut and extremely bushy eyebrows. He wore a strikingly similar outfit as his sensei as well, consisting of a green jumpsuit, orange leg warmers, and a red forehead protector worn as a belt. Beneath the leg warmers were extremely heavy weights, and bandages were applied over his hands, covering the cuts he was given from the rigorous training he was undertaking. Hyuga Niji was extremely serious and mature for his age, and had great control of his emotions, unlike his counterpart he was facing. Being a member of the elite Hyuga clan, he was born with the Byakugan, a dojutsu belonging solely to them. He was slightly cold and arrogant, and believed that fate was already predetermined. He wore a black forehead protector that was snugly over his forehead, while his hair was tied back in a ponytail at the end. He wore a khaki shirt, under which he wore a dull blue shirt with a mesh armor underneath it, dark brown shorts, blue shinobi sandals. He also had bandages wrapped around his right arm, chest, and right leg. In all, They were a frontline team in training. They were the only team that passed their graduation test, however, making them the only team from their year. None of them seemed to mind that. Mato Guy was the Jonin sensei of Team 10, a job he was proud of having. He often heard himself described by others as unique, or eccentric, neither of which he disputed. He often spoke of the power of youth, which nearly everyone in Konoha didn't even know what it meant. He is a tall and well-built man with high cheekbones, thick eyebrows and black hair cut in a bowl style. He wears a green jumpsuit, orange striped leg warmers and the standard Konoha flak jacket, though it's normally unzipped. His forehead protector is on a red cloth and is worn around his waist, like a belt. Begin! Guy's voice rang out between the two genin. YOSH. Upon Guy's order, Lee took off to begin the taijutsu-only spar. He wasted no time for warming up before he started rapidly through punches at Niji's face, though the former Rookie of the Year dodged every strike with complete ease. Why doesn't Lee ever stop trying? Niji thought with a stoic face, his head continuously moving side to side to avoid getting hit. After a minute of this, Niji grew bored and decided to start his own offense. He grabbed Lee's extended wrist, not letting the other boy do anything before the Hyuga prodigy jabbed him in the ribs with the back of an open fist. Relatively, it was a light blow, not intending to end the fight but to just leave a mark and sting a bit. However, Lee involuntarily hunched over in reaction, which let Niji land a strong and well-placed kick right to his temple as a follow-up. Guy nearly cringed as he watched his favorite pupil's head snap backwards, but he knew Lee was tough enough to take it. He couldn't cover the proud smile on his face when Lee used the momentum to spin around and kick Niji in the chest, knocking the prodigy backwards. But for all of Lee's improvement over the last year under Guy's teachings, Niji was still well above him in terms of skill. The margin was growing smaller by the day, but Niji was stronger regardless. Niji flipped back up to his feet, a scowl on his face. His thoughts were fixated on the fight at hand, though he never lost his cool and forgot the rules of strict taijutsu only. That might not have strictly prevented him from activating his eyes, but he was too prideful to even activate them against someone he thought was so far beneath him. Niji braced himself as Lee charged forward again, aiming a fist towards his jaw. He blocked it, his scowl deepening on his face while he elbowed Lee in the cheek. Lee's head was forcibly turned to the side, and he received a quick knee into the stomach. The boy in green tried to fight back with a punch aimed for Niji's face, but Niji simply swatted the punch aside with his left arm and slugged Lee in the mouth with his right. Lee fell onto his back before he pushed himself upwards with his hands into the air and tried to kick Niji in the chest. Instead, the Hyuga caught Lee's foot with both hands and threw him over his head. Lee landed in a thud on the ground, rolling across the grass before he managed to stop himself and land on his feet. Guy merely closed his eyes, seeing that Lee was charging in yet again. The tactic simply wouldn't work on Niji, and Lee refused to see it. "You will always be weak, Lee," Niji said coldly, punching Lee across the face and sending him sprawling across the ground. He expected the spar to be over, and let his guard fall. As a result, Lee was able to get the drop on him, planting both feet directly into Niji's sternum. The attack stunned him, knocking Niji backwards but not off of his feet. He narrowed his eyes before resuming his stance, watching Lee sprint at him just like all the times before. However, this time instead of letting Lee try and fail to pummel him with a flurry of fists, Niji blocked the first punch before catching the second. Lee tried to pull his hand away, but Niji had the other boy's forearm in an ironclad grip to prevent him from moving. The Hyuga prodigy swept Lee's feet right out of under him, knocking him to the ground. Before Lee could get up, Niji held his fist up to his face, ending the brief spar. "As I said," Niji said coolly, holding his fist in place. "You will always be weak, Lee. Nothing you can do will change that." The Hyuga lowered his fist and began to walk off, not noticing the disapproving look Guy was giving him, or the slight sneer Tenten had on her face. Lee had yet to get to his feet, though he only suffered minor bruising. "Lee, he doesn't mean it." Guy tried to encourage his student, but he failed to do so. While physically Lee was alright, Niji's words stung more than any punch he could have thrown. Lee was used to the put-downs and snide remarks by now, but that did nothing to make them hurt less. After time and time again he tried to get the other boy to call him his equal, and each time ending in failure. Lee got up to his feet slowly, an unusual dark look on his face as he acknowledged another defeat at Niji's hands. He wasn't going to stop though, he couldn't. His entire goal in life anymore wasn't to become the best, it wasn't to be considered an elite. His goal was to force Niji to acknowledge that Lee was as skilled as him. And he'd be damned if he didn't make that happen. Niji had exited Team 10's training grounds, heading back to the Hyuga clan compound. Guy had no problems with him doing this, knowing Niji didn't really have a choice in the matter. Despite being closest to Lee, Guy insisted on being there for all his students, seeing them almost like his own children. He would try to help them all through their problems, and he would understand their suffering. Of course, out of the three, he also knew Niji was the one with the worst set of problems. It was why he said nothing to the prodigy whenever Niji acted like an overall ass towards his teammates, like he had done not 5 minutes ago. A great example of Niji's problems would be a few moments after arriving at the clan compound. After mere seconds of entering the premises, a horrible burning sensation filled his very being. Niji let out a scream of agony, clutching his head and falling down to his knees. A few moments after the pain began, it subsided, amidst the laughter of a main house member. The branch member lifted his head and glared at the laughing Hyuga, noting that he was a failing member of his year, and one of the dozens upon dozens of main house members that loved to torment the side branch. The boy noticed Niji's heated glare, and mockingly asked, "Who do you think you're glaring at, scum?" Niji screamed again, the searing pain in his head returning again. Niji withered on the ground, screaming in pain. Through his blurry vision, he saw the boy strutting towards him. "Ah, is Whittle Niji gonna cry for daddy?" The boy taunted down at him, letting the seal deactivate before he kicked the down prodigy in the stomach. "Wait, your daddy's dead." "How could I forget?" He kicked Niji again, making Niji spit blood. "You're still no better than a slave, no matter how good you think you are." Niji lifted his head, blood trailing down the left side of his mouth. He wanted to do something to the smirking boy in front of him, but he couldn't. Not with the death warrant already placed on his forehead. The kid's smirk fell. "Did I tell you to get up?" he snarled, slapping Niji in the mouth. "I should kill you for your disobedience." "Enough!" A voice roared behind them, and all activity around them ceased. Niji lifted his eyes again, and nearly let out a curse. Because meeting his Byakugan eyes was the face of his uncle and current clan head of the Hyuga family, Hyuga Hayashi. Hayashi looked down at his nephew for a moment, before he turned his head and glared icily at the main house member. His fists were clenched so tight that they wouldn't stop shaking. "If you value your life, you will leave at once. Should I ever come across your face again, I'll kill you myself. Do I make myself clear, boy?" The boy nodded quickly, mumbling "Hi Hayashi-sama," before fleeing, out of Hayashi's sight in moments. Hisashi's glare lingered for a few moments on the spot the kid disappeared, and turned and looked back at his nephew. Niji was looking up at him in contempt, blood still trailing down the side of his mouth. Nevertheless, Hayashi still extended his hand to help Niji back to his feet. He wasn't surprised when Niji slapped his hand away and slowly got up to his feet on his own, walking back to his quarters and slamming the door shut. Hayashi closed his eyes dejectedly. He knew his brother was rolling around in his grave at how his son was being treated, but in truth there was nothing he could do. His hands were tied, not just by the laws but by other matters concerning his own children. Pathetic. Hayashi thought to himself in disgust, trudging back to the main house. "I can't save my daughter, and I can't save my nephew. What kind of clan head am I?" He didn't fail to hear the sound of breaking objects in Niji's quarters either. Naruto stopped in front of a door to a familiar classroom. Class for the day was currently on break and would be for another hour, so he knew that he wasn't going to be interrupting anything. He knocked once before entering the familiar classroom. A scarred Chunin was seated behind his desk grading tests when he heard the door click open, and he looked up to see his visitor. To his utter surprise, he was greeted by a boy that was considered dead by many in the village. A grin slowly spread across his face, and the Chunin asked Naruto, "Is that really you?" His voice trailed off upon seeing the scar running across Naruto's face. Naruto noticed that Iruka was looking at the mark under his eye. "Hey Iruka-sensei. Did you miss me?" he asked with a grin, before pointing his thumb up at his eye. "What do you think of my fourth whisker?" "I don't know how to respond to it," Iruka answered. He knew what to think of it, he just didn't want to say it aloud. It looks like it was pretty painful to get it. He should know, he still had that scar on his face from Tora damn crazy demon cat. Naruto shrugged happily and said not many people do. "How's things going with Konohamaru and the bunch?" Iruka looked back down to his test, finding he was on Konohamaru of all people. Slightly ironic, and easy to grade. Another 0. Konohamaru seeing Naruto again better help him improve. Outwardly, he said they haven't been trying as hard as they were before you left, Konohamaru especially. Your presumed death took a toll on him. Iruka answered somberly to the blonde genin, before cracking a smile and saying he missed his rival. Naruto smiled lightly but waved him off, and said I'll try to pay him a visit in a few days. I have to get reacquainted with my team over the next 2 days, starting with a spar against Kakashi-sensei this afternoon," Naruto said. "Good luck with that, Naruto, you'll need it." Naruto took a look of mock offense, and said indigently, "Are you kidding? I'm gonna kick Kakashi-sensei's ass." Iruka shook his head, not surprised by Naruto's proclamation. The kid always tried to act like he radiated confidence even when he had none. "Anyhow, what has everyone else been up to in Konoha?" Naruto asked, wanting to hear from someone else about the works of the world. "Sakura Haruno came by a couple months ago, wanting to get books on genjutsu and medical ninja skills. I pointed her in the direction of Kuranai, teammate sensei. Speaking of that trio, they won Rookie Team of the Year last week," Iruka said, though that wasn't the only thought on his mind. "Mostly thanks to Hinata, the girl turned cold when you left Naruto. I heard about Sakura trying to become a medic, but the genjutsu thing is surprising," Naruto said, before he grew a thoughtful look on his face. "It's almost quaint, isn't it? We're almost an exact replica of the Sannin." "What do you mean?" Iruka asked, adding in, "And where did you learn the word quaint?" Naruto chose to ignore the subtle jab Iruka jokingly shot at him and explained the prodigy, never quite trying to be friendly with his team, but still letting them grow on him. The medic, the one to heal any injuries that the other two sustain. And the jokester, the one who took things seriously too late. I think our team fills out that role almost perfectly now, doesn't it? Iruka blinked at the analogy, but found that at this point, the similarities between the two were numerous. "I guess so, Naruto." He nodded before smiling again. "Though I didn't know you paid attention to history class. You sort of failed every history test I ever gave you." Naruto grinned cheekily and gave a thumbs up. "Meh, gotta know who I'm trying to outdo." The blonde boy looked up at the clock and saw that it was almost noon. "It's late, and you look like you're having loads of fun grading a stack of papers, so I'm going to go head home. Hopefully they haven't already rented it out or something. Later, sensei." Naruto jogged out the door, before going into a full-fledged sprint down the hall. He failed to notice that his jogging threw paper off of Iruka's desk. "You never cease to amaze, do you, Naruto?" Sasuke was taking a break from training, deciding to go on a walk through the village. He hadn't actually been out and about in the village in some time, except on horrible deranked missions and the like, so this was almost a breath of fresh air for him. It would have been anyway, if people weren't giving him the usual stares. Some were of envy, others of pity, but all of respect he felt he didn't even deserve. He had done absolutely nothing worth mentioning to date, so the worship got old really fast. Mind you, he had grown accustomed to the respect people gave him. He grew up with it. He didn't know where he was going, just letting his feet take him wherever they wanted to go. Whether it was the park, or the memorial stone, or even visiting his parents' graves, he usually went to a place where he thought he would be alone, and in a place that had his family history in it. But not this day. No, on this day he cared nothing for his family history, and found himself looking over Training Ground 7. He could see the river flowing in the back, with the field of freshly cut grass near the front as well as the rest of the large forest of trees next to it. He saw the 3 old stumps that Kakashi used when all 3 members of Team 7 were rookies. The only other time Naruto and he had a chance to fight side by side other than the newly named Naruto Bridge in Wave. Thinking back on that horrible day, Sasuke always wondered just what power Naruto had used when he fought off those bandits. He wouldn't complain, Naruto managed to take out a lot of people, even more than he did with the help of Kakashi. But the chakra felt like poison going into Sasuke's lungs, and he wasn't even near Naruto half of the fight. Then of course, the feeling went away after Naruto fell off the bridge. Sasuke stared at the middle stump, which was Naruto's. His fist clenched, to the point his knuckles turned white. "Dumb-dobe, what the hell were you thinking?" he thought sorrowfully. He must have lost himself in his thoughts too, because when he finally looked away, the sun had lowered considerably, looking as if an hour had passed. Sasuke stuffed his hands in his pockets, before walking away, intent on going home. Problem is, he didn't get too far before running into his pinkhead of a teammate. "Don't see me, don't see me, don't see me, son of a dash." Sakura saw him, and said excitedly, "Oh, Sasuke-kun." "Hey Sakura." Sasuke greeted in a monotone voice. Over the last few months, the girl had grown a little on him, he'll admit, but she just annoyed him sometimes, never giving him alone time except when he was in the Uchiha compound. Man, this used to be Dobe's job. Keep her occupied while everyone else enjoyed the peace. He thought sourly, his depressed mood still lingering in his mind. Sakura kicked the dirt on the road. "So how was your day?" "It was alright, I guess. Sasuke answered after a moment of thought. How was yours? Sakura shrugged and replied it was boring as can be. Anyway, did you hear those rumors? Here we go. Sasuke wailed in his mind. Outwardly though, he asked what rumors? About Naruto. Sakura's voice grew loud at that. You didn't hear, people keep seeing a boy with deep blue eyes, blonde hair, and whisker marks on his face running as fast as a blur around the village. Probably was a prank by some from last year's graduating class, Sasuke said, shrugging. Wouldn't be the first time they did that or the second. Sakura waved that off and said I know, but this time Choji, Ino, and Shikamaru talked to him. They're the ones that told me, even their sensei agreed with them. Sasuke was now a little curious about it, but didn't comment. Odds were they would see the blonde tomorrow when they saw Kakashi. And that was if Naruto was actually back. Do you think he's improved that much? Sakura asked him. Maybe gotten a little faster and stronger, I understand that, but as fast as a blur? That's insane. You saw how different it is outside our walls, Sakura, Sasuke said, nodding over to the gate at the front of the village. We were only out there for 2 weeks and we had Kakashi and each other watching our backs. And even without us, how well do you think Kakashi would have lasted in that water prison jutsu? Sakura thought about that, and saw just how badly that could have ended for their sensei had the three of them not been there. Even if he had someone like Kakashi watching his back, everywhere you went you would be attacked, and you would have to grow stronger to survive. If he's as fast as a blur, it could be a good thing for us. If he isn't but is still much better than he was, that's another good thing, it doesn't matter. As long as he doesn't drag us down, we're going to be fine. And as long as Dobe hasn't gotten that much better, Sasuke added in his head. Naruto saw the retreating forms of his teammates leaving the training ground, and felt multiple emotions. The first to hit him was happiness, but at nearly the same time, he felt his gut churning. They nearly got him killed on that bridge, or at least Sakura did. The least she could have done was try to fight with him. He shook his head at that thought, and jumped down from the rooftops near the training ground into the field. He took a few steps before he sat atop the middle stump and awaited his sensei, thinking the man was going to be late like he usually was. And late he was, but not annoyingly so. A mere 10 minutes after the scheduled time, Kakashi popped into existence in front of the Jinchuriki. I'd say you were late, but you usually suck at timing, Naruto said idly. Naruto got up off the stump and continued speaking. I should consider you early, sensei. What can I say, Naruto? Kakashi shrugged. I'm excited to see what Itachi taught you. However, what the Hokage said after Naruto left repeated in his head. Flashback. Naruto sprinted down the hall, intent on going to finish his reunions with the rest of his close friends, leaving Kakashi and Hiruzen in the office. Well, as for our previous discussion, we'll save it for later, Hiruzen said, leaning back. However, in the meantime, I want you to truly test Naruto today, Kakashi. Don't be lazy, study every move he will use, see if he can still fit into your unit. I intend to, Hokage-sama. Kakashi nodded. No, Kakashi, I don't think you do, Hiruzen said, though not insulting the copy ninja. I don't want to know what Naruto can do on his own, strictly speaking. I want you to try to force Naruto to use his eyes. Kakashi was silent, nodding slowly. He knew the Hokage's reasoning, he shared the same view on it. But still, forcing someone to do something they didn't want to, no matter what it was, just seemed wrong. He needs to use them. Locking away a part of yourself is not something he can do without suffering the side effects. Hiruzen told him anyway. But Hokage-sama. Kakashi, the third Hokage, looked at him. I don't feel comfortable about this either, but this test is to see exactly what he can do. I need to know what his eyes can do, and how they differentiate from Sasuke's and your own. Who knows, maybe our Uchiha heir will accept Naruto, and the two will be an even better team than before. Or it will make Sasuke grow even more distant. Kakashi interjected mirthlessly. He was making slow progress with Sasuke, but considering how the boy was before the teams were sorted, it was a drastic difference. Besides, Naruto might rather suffer a beating than unveil them. Kakashi said. You saw the way he hesitated. He's afraid to even show us, and we're the ones he should trust most. Imagine how terrified he must be to show someone like Sasuke, who might kill him thinking it's a sick prank. Kakashi, I'm sorry, but this isn't up for debate, Hiruzen muttered. This must be done. The world needs to know who he is, or at the very least I do. Try to force him to use them, and we'll go from there. Kakashi grit his teeth but nodded. Hi Hokage-sama, I'll see to it. Flashback over. Kakashi gave a sigh before watching Naruto get up into a fighting stance. It was one similar to the Uchiha clan style, yet it also resembled the one Guy had taught and used on a regular basis. There was a third style that seemed to be mixed in, though Kakashi couldn't recall the name off the top of his head. Did Itachi teach you multiple styles, Naruto? Not entirely, Naruto grinned, seeing how easily Kakashi saw it. He just mixed multiple styles to make mine impossible to copy or predict. Said that the most unpredictable ninja in the world needs to have the most unpredictable fighting style, you know? Fair enough, Naruto. Kakashi said, still in a relaxed position. Hit me with your best shot. So we need a new messenger system? Orochimaru was lounging in front of his desk, absent-mindedly twirling a shuriken on his right index finger. He was staring impassively at Kisame, who had a dull look on his face as if he was too lazy to hit Orochimaru for the overly obvious comment he just made. Out of everything I just said, that was all you got out of it? Kisame asked with an annoyed glare. Orochimaru's face broke into a smirk. Well, it's the truth, but why didn't he just, I don't know, use my messenger hawk? Kisame shrugged, the thought never occurred to him. I don't know, but I ain't complainin'. I got a free week of vacation out of this. Orochimaru nodded, already aware of this. Kisame could actually prove useful for some of his academy's students or current genin. I am well aware that you are in my village for another week, Kisame. Well aware. Kisame gave a toothy grin and said, you know, what you've been able to do with this place in mere months has been impressive as hell. You managed to train yourself competent shinobi, even sending a team to the Chunin exams this year. But I do have a question. Orochimaru raised an eyebrow in a go-on gesture. Where did you get all those people down there in your village? Kisame asked, curious. It was well known what Orochimaru did to the people in Konohagakure, all the experiments that he performed. That and most of the people in the village were wearing the same pitch-black cloak. Some of them were building, others were training in the newly built training grounds scattered around the village, and others were learning in the academy to become shinobi. In truth, the foundation of the village was strikingly similar to that of the Great Five, much more advanced than any of the other smaller nations aside from AIM. Only difference between AIM and Oto was how much more quickly everything came together, and how quickly everything was built. Instead of nearly a decade for everything to come to fruition, Orochimaru pulled it off in mere months. Contracts were starting to come their way from IWA and Kiri, especially from cheaper countries that couldn't afford nations like Kumo or Konoha. Still, there was much for Orochimaru to do. His quest was far from accomplished, barely even begun. Recently, his partner ran across a unique gene that Orochimaru was eager to test. When Orochimaru didn't respond to his question, Kisame spoke up again. Where did they learn Kenjutsu? It's a form I've never seen before. The shark ninja heard the sound of clashing blades and started staring at the dozens of people running around and engaging in a sword fight. Their attacks were quick and precise strokes, actively keen on using their free limbs to assist them in combat instead of using their sword two-handed like most people. It's a clan fighting style of theirs, no one else uses it because no one else has been taught it. Orochimaru explained, still trying to think of an answer for Kisame. They're good. Kisame nodded in appreciation. He could respect a fellow swordsman. Orochimaru nodded dryly. They're average at best among their clan members, they won't make it past Genin. The snake Sannin said blankly, leaving Kisame to wonder if he was joking or not. Well then, Kisame muttered, feeling slighted. Some of those kids were better than most other swordsmen that Kisame had ever come across, they might actually be able to keep him in a stalemate for hours at a time. He swallowed the bitter pill and said, I'll be off, good day Orochimaru. Orochimaru knew that he offended Kisame, but it was the truth. All of the members of this clan were extremely skilled swordsmen, though that was not their sole expertise. That, and he really didn't want to say who the people were. The snake Sannin got up and walked over to the window of his office, watching the ocean tide push and pull on the beach near the edge of the village, small children running around and playing in the sand. His thoughts trailed back to a much more simple time, back when he was a shinobi of Konoha and why he founded Otogakure. I knew I would make a better leader than Minato if only you would have seen that, you foolish fossil, he thought, his fist tightening. He didn't know why he even still had it, but his eyes glanced to a framed photo of his Genin team, with Hiruzen standing in the back, him to the left, Jiraiya to the right, and Tsunade in the middle. They were all smiling, even him. Too bad that picture was taken a long time ago. Back when the world made sense.